Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Articles by Vaishnava Acharyas. So, in this episode 2, we will be studying the article by Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura in the Harmonist magazine, volume 25, issue number 1, which was published in the June of 1927. And this article is about as you can see on the title here, the Gauḍīya Maṭh, its message and activities. So basically, the mission of Gauḍīya Maṭh, um, as envisaged by Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. So we will read that. That is the mission of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya and Rupanugas, and of course, the direct link in the Parampara, who is Srila Prabhupada, and our own movement in ISKM. So this is the instruction, the idea, the mood, the mission of this Krishna consciousness movement. Of course, now Gaudiya Maṭh has become something else. You know, after the physical departure of Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. But this was the original mood, and even Srila Prabhupada's case, ISKCON, he started with the same mood. Now ISKCON has become something else. So we are not concerned with the nomenclature of the movement or the institution, whether Gaudiya Maṭh or ISKCON or ISKM. It's the mood, the mission, the instruction. Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chittete Korya Aikya. The instruction is what we should be taking to heart. If the external instruments that were supposed to have executed the order of that Guru Mukha Padmavakya become dysfunctional, then we should not be hesitant to discard, although we should try our level best to keep the instrument going. But if the instrument falls, wayward, then we cannot hesitate. We should not hesitate to abide by the order, and if necessary, give up the instrument which was serving the instruction up until that point. So we will say our Mangalacharan prayers and continue with the session. It's a little bit of a long article, so it might take some time. So fasten your seatbelts for a long session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Sami Prabhu is saying, so long session ki jai. Well, I don't know how many people will say jai. Yeah. So, as I said in the introduction, Gauḍīya Maṭh, its message and activities, the mission of Gauḍīya Maṭh. Now, of course, we are not advocates of Gauḍīya Maṭh, that is presently the Gauḍīya Maṭh, because it has become a little bit of a dysfunctional institution. Although there is some, of course, there are some, it is running with some devotees there. Krishna. But largely, and especially Prabhupada said, none of my god brothers are qualified to become guru. All of them are useless for propagating this movement because um, they have disobeyed the order of the spiritual master. So the order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chityate Korya Aikya. So the nomenclature of the movement, where the Gaudiya Math or ISKCON or ISKM is merely an instrument in executing the order of the spiritual master. So yes, we should be attached to the institution only on the basis of its adherence to the instruction of the spiritual master. So it's not that, oh, if somebody is not following the instruction, immediately quit the movement. No, every effort should be made to rectify the movement um, of any faults, and that is a ongoing thing. Parampara and even family traditions. For example, um, I'll give you an example. You see, Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 35. No, 34, sorry. अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययां सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्तिर्मरणादतिरिच्यते. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Now, the what is the honor that Arjuna had? Arjuna was, if you see, um, many times Krishna has addressed him as Bharata, right? Mahabaho, Bharata, Kurunandana. So he's referencing to the family of Arjuna. Now, that is not a material kind of reference. Oh, because when we take initiation, we are now no more part of material family. Now we are part of the spiritual family, and that's why names are changed to signify that one is a servant of Krishna. But here, although Krishna is trying to induce Arjuna to become a servant of himself, but he was referencing Arjuna in the matter of his family, Kurunandana, Bharata. In this way, he was addressing him. Dhananjaya. Now, why that family reference is made then, if one has to come out of the bodily concept? So, if the family itself is a family, is an aristocratic family, is known for performing religious, to be religious, is known to be religious, and especially so if it is transcendental family, um, then it is glorified. It is an honor to take birth in such a family. And one should, the honor that is there attached to it is actually connected with the spiritual aspect of the family, not just the seminal lineage. Like the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family is glorious because, the family's whole thing is mission is to propagate Krishna consciousness, reach Krishna consciousness. And Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur took it forward. Of course, maybe the other children were not so prominent, but he definitely took it forward. And then his disciple, it's not exactly, he did not have any issue. He did not have any sons. So Prabhupada was, his disciple, Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur's disciple, and therefore he is called Sarasvata. And we are all also in the Sarasvata family because we are all in the family of Sarasvatī Thakur. Although he was a celibate brahmachari, Naishtik brahmachari, but we are in his family because by spiritual initiation. So now that family, Gaudiya Vaishnava family, Or in Arjuna's case, the Bharata or Kurunandana, Kuru family, the Bharat Maharaj family, they are known for valorous protection of dharma. So, by taking birth in such a family, one has to stand up for its reputation. So, similarly, why am I telling this? Because now ISKM is building a reputation now, however small we may be, but we are trying to build a reputation for uncompromised preaching of Krishna consciousness. Now, there may be devotees who may be not so strong even within ISKM, at least in the beginning stages or even as they're advancing. That does not mean ISKM, our this thing is we have to, there is some devotees who are not following strictly, so I will leave ISKM. That's not the point. We have to stay and keep up the reputation of the institution. Not that, somebody is not following, so I will leave and I'll follow the Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. No, that is not Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya is to stay within the institution. And sometimes I may see it as the fault of the institution, but actually it's sometimes my own fault. Sometimes I can't judge properly. So I have to first be very sure if my own perception and my own thinking is whether it is right or wrong, first of all. Um, After it has been thoroughly established whether one is right, and even when one is right within an institution, and if we see some mistake in an institution, it's not immediately to leave that institution. No, that has to be rectified. There will be, see, when people are there interacting with one another, there are bound to be some disagreements. There are bound to be some friction. That does not mean we immediately jump ship. Oh, there is some rocking in the ship, so let me jump off the ship. And that is even worse. I'll go into the sea. So I have to keep within the institution and um, rectify it if possible. And myself, I have to be sincere in my execution. But when it comes to a point where they are vehemently, vociferously, persistently um, disobey the instruction of the spiritual master, willfully disobey, and despite all counsel or trials to kind of rectify the situation, the management is just adamant about not following the instructions of the spiritual master, then one has no choice but to leave. Like the war of Kurukshetra happened only after every other possibility of reconciliation was met with defeat or was not successful. So it was a last resort. So similarly, leaving the movement should be the last resort. It should never be at the. In fact, one should never even think about it. Leaving. Um, that's how we keep ourselves strong. Having said that, when it comes to a point where, so even when I may face some inconvenience, I should stay within the movement. The thing is, Trinadapi Sunichana Tarorapi Sahishana. I must be tolerant, even if there is some kind of, you know, disturbance for me on my personal note. But if there is a gross disobedience of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and instructions of the spiritual master, and despite all kinds of attempts to correct it, the people who run it are completely adamant about it of not following. Yes, then one has to stick to the instruction and not to the institution. So that's what Srila Prabhupada has done. You see, Gauḍīya Maṭh, today's article is about Gauḍīya Maṭh, its message and activities. And Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura very nicely uh, writes this whole article. Now, Prabhupada was not sentimentally attached to the movement. He was attached, basically, definitely. But when he saw that, after the departure of Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, everybody had their own ulterior motives, and despite all attempts, they were not agreeable to cooperate on a worldwide preaching mission. Then he did not feel it wise to stay within the confines of Gauḍīya Maṭh, and he went to um, America and started ISKCON, and that's how ISKCON started. So, was he against Gauḍīya Maṭh? No, but he was against the adulteration of Gauḍīya Maṭh. And when it is adulterated, it is no more, it cannot have any semblance to the original purpose for which it was established in the first place. So, ISKM today also stands on that principle. Of course, they first of all ostracized Sundar Gopal Prabhu. They said he's banned from ISKCON in 1998 or 2000 or somewhere around there. There was a resolution that he's not to be admitted in ISKCON as a member of ISKCON because he was trying to have meetings with them and trying to convince them about the Ritvik system. And then they are now, in fact, they have classes against the Ritvik system in the ISKCON Disciples course, IDC. Before you get initiation, you have to go through a ISKCON Disciple course. And then in that, you have a module against the Ritvik system. You have to learn it. So there is a systematic propaganda against Srila Prabhupada's instructions that is completely unacceptable. So if I face a personal inconvenience, that should never be a cause for me leaving the movement. Only if there is a complete, irrevocable damage that has been done to the movement, when it is completely against what the original intention of its setup was, then yes, it has to be considered. So keeping that in mind, we have to understand this article. Okay, so Dimitri Prabhu is asking, what if devotees want to leave ISKCON because of deviations, but the authorities changed Madhya 19.157 to make them stay? Yes, I know what you mean. That purport, where Prabhupada said one need not stay within the organization but follow the rules of, instructions of the spiritual master. Whereas they said, they have to be inside the movement, should not leave the movement. Yeah, this kind of manipulation, can be done. But then this is where one has to be intelligent enough to understand what is the instruction of the spiritual master and what is not. And one should also see Phalena Parichyate by the results. Today, what ISKCON is and what it is becoming, especially in the upper echelons of the leadership, it's alarming. It's alarming to say the least. And it is only holding water to an extent because the senior disciples of Prabhupada are still there. Once they go, I think it will be a complete free for all. Even now, it is already cracking up like never before. It will even go worse. So, yeah, they may try saying, quoting things like that, but you know, we can see from practical example how Prabhupada himself split from Gaudiya Math and started his own institution only when they deviated. Okay, so anyway, this is the original intention, original mission of Gaudiya Math, which is our own mission also in ISKM. Okay, with that, we have to understand this article. So, Gaudiya Math, its message and activities. The font is small, but the blessing is that it's in 2 columns. So, we can do that. And now we can read it easily. It's a PDF, so I have to do that and that kind of things. So, it's okay. It's not too much of a problem. So, let's read it. Shri Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura ki jai. Let's pray for his blessing so that we can understand his English and his message and repeat it without any distortion. So, by the grace of the Lord of the Gaudiyas, who is that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord of the Gaudiyas is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the grace of the Lord of the Gaudiyas, the message of Gaudiya Math is today not unknown to anyone in the whole of Gauda Desh. That means it is known. Not unknown means it's known. To anyone in the whole of Gauda Desh, and not in Gauda Desh only, but over Naimisharanya, Ayodhya, Prayag, Kashi, Sri Vrindavan, Mathura on one side, and also over Dakshinatya. What is Dakshinatya? The South India. And everywhere throughout the tracts of Orissa on the other has been well proclaimed the message of the Gaudiya Math, the principal branch of the Sri Chaitanya Math, which is the root implanted in the soil of the advent of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Mayapur Navadvip Dham. Over Gaudamandal, Kshetramandal and Brajamandal, the message of the Gaudiya Math has gone forth. So I hope you have understood so far what he meant. So that means today the Gaudiya Maṭh, as he was writing in 1927, he's saying today the message of Gaudiya Maṭh is not unknown in Gaudadesh, which is the Bengal, West and East Bengal. East Bengal is now Bangladesh, so West Bengal. Um, Gaudadesh, and not only in Gaudadesh, but also Naimisharanya, Ayodhya, Prayag, Kashi, and all these places, and Dakshinatya and Orissa. So the message of Gaudiya Maṭh is now known, he's saying. And that Gaudiya Maṭh is a branch, principal branch of Sri Chaitanya Math, which also was established by him in the Mayapur Navadvip Dham. You can also, now even you can go and see that temple. Over Gaudamandal, Kshetra Mandal. Now Kshetra Mandal means, my understanding is the Bharatvarsh, which is also called Karma Kshetra. I don't know if that is what he's meaning. And Brajamandal. So anyway, that is the area anyway that Gaudiya Math was, the whole of India. Gaudiya Math was ruling. I mean, not ruling, having its temples. Mind you, at that time, India was not a country. Try to understand this, that India was not one country. We sometimes don't understand the historical significance of what Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura was doing. Now, Bharatvarsh, certainly, I mean, the whole of, at his time, the partition of India did not happen. So the Bangladesh and today's Pakistan was still under the Bharatvarsh. And also, although we may call it Bharatvarsh in that way, but it was not one country. It was so many states, so many kingdoms under the British Raj, British rule. So it was a very different political scenario compared to today. Could Kshetra be Kshetra, Shri Kshetra, Puri? Probably, I think that makes sense. Maybe it's Shri Kshetra, Purushottam Kshetra, maybe Puri, probably. So, anyway, the whole of India, today's India, Bharat, he was having his temples all over. And mind you, at those times, it was different kingdoms. Under the British Raj, there was a kind of unity under the British Raj, and they were all like, so it was kind of a British colony. And so, in that way, it was kind of united. Although the kingdoms under the British Raj were more or less ceremonial, they were dependent on the British military protection and political will. So, in that way, you could say actually it was kind of united in one sense. So, Gaudiya Math has spread. So, that is what it is. So, now, this is very, very important paragraph. We have shared this many times. So, we'll read this. The truth, Satya, is propagated in a twofold way. And by the way, can you share it in the groups so that this session has started so that people can actually join? The truth, Satya, is propagated in a twofold way, viz., positively or by the method of direct support, and negatively or by the method of opposition. The truth cannot be made sufficiently known by the positive method alone. Now, mind you, this was the first issue of the Harmonist magazine. And Harmonist, the way he titled the magazine was, it is an instrument. He actually referred to it as she, this Harmonist magazine, as a female trying to render service to the supreme male Krishna. So he named her Harmonist, the magazine. And Harmonist means one which creates harmony. But here he is saying the propaganda or the truth cannot be sufficiently made known by the positive method alone. That means just by glorifying the truth, it is not possible to sufficiently propagate the truth. Propaganda by the method of opposition more than the presentation of the positive aspect brings about more brilliantly in this world the appearance and glorification of the truth. And this is revolutionary in many, many ways. Actually, these kind of sentences are historic because they are the turning points of civilization. See, mind you, whenever there's a revolution, let's take even a political revolution or a commercial or an economic or business revolution. For example, iPhone was a revolution in technology, right? What did it take to successfully execute that revolution? First of all, a person had an idea which was almost certainly considered madness. Oh, what? Input and output at the same place? That because before that it was buttons on the phone, and then the screen was separate from the buttons. So the input was the buttons and the output was on the screen. So it was two separate things. So he was thinking that the input and output should be on the same place, and it should be a screen. And how are people going to type on a screen? And it was, are you mad or something? In fact, BlackBerry, which was famous until up until that point, BlackBerry phones were used by all businessmen at the time, and it used to have a full-fledged keyboard on its phone, a little bit fatter than a usual Nokia phones and all of that. I don't know if some of you even have seen those phones, because Gen Z, the latest generation, they've only seen the smartphones because when they were 4 or 5 years old, they were already exposed to smartphones. But we saw the era before even phones. No, not before phones, but before handsets or mobile phone. And then we saw the mobile phone, and then we saw the smartphone era. So any revolution, if you see, when the person who's thinking about it, people will consider him as a crazy fellow. They will have all kind of apprehensions about it. Even political revolutions, when people like in India, for example, Subhash Chandra Bose, he took up a very different approach than Gandhi. Gandhi practically was useless in the attainment of Indian independence. It was Subhash Chandra Bose and similar others whose attempts were the real cause of Indian independence, which we were not properly, um, taught by in the school. But anyway, that's another matter. But now the point is, people like that did revolutionary things, and at that time, what Subhash Chandra Bose did and people like him did, they were punished like no other. They were given hellish punishments. Like, for example, Veer Savarkar, um, 1894 at the time, whatever. So he was a young man, and then he took to violent means to quell the British. Now those were met with severe opposition. He was put in the Kalapani concentration camp in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and it's I did not see the full extent of the punishments that were meted out at Kalapani, but the tortures were completely inhumane. You can't even imagine the kind of torture that one is put in that Kalapani concentration camp in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Even to this day, people say that when they go there, it's depressing even to go there. Even to look at those buildings is depressing. You will see an energy which is so low, which is so haunting at that place. So, and people were put there and they were tortured like nothing else. No, there were a few other places in history where the torture can be comparable, like the Auschwitz camp in Germany, the Unit 731 in Japan, and the gulags in Russia, and maybe many others which we are not even aware of. I mean, war crimes always happen. Anyway, so, and at that time, British Raj was the government. So anybody who went against the government is considered a criminal. So they were branded as criminals when actually they were trying to get independence. Now they will only be glorified later when the independence actually came, and then they will be glorified. So Apple's Steve Jobs, he must have been ridiculed when he was having this idea of iPhone. But when it came out and became a huge success, now he is studied at a studies. He is studied now as a revolutionary thinker. So a revolutionary thinker means he does not think, by definition, he does not think like anybody else. So now this Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. Now I gave you mundane examples, but you see, Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had nothing to do with technological revolutions, political revolutions, nothing of that sort. but his was a spiritual revolution, which is much more grand than the so-called political freedom fighters. The real freedom fighters are the devotees, are the preachers, who really fight for the actual freedom of the jiva, who is bound to this material world by the shackles of his own attachment, that is powered by his own ignorance. So, um, the pure devotees, they are the real freedom fighters. And what freedom they are fighting for, people who are bound cannot even understand. So they will always have apprehensions about preachers. They will ridicule the preachers. They will put all kinds of obstacles before the preachers. Nonetheless, taking all that durvadam or ridicule or how to say insult and all kinds of reversals in the face of, in the face of the non-devotees, they will take everything. Titikshava Karunika. They are tolerant and at the same time merciful to them, to the same people who are trying to harm them. So, propaganda, he's saying, the truth cannot be made sufficiently known by the positive method alone. Propaganda by the method of opposition, more than the presentation of the positive aspect, brings about more brilliantly in this world the appearance and glorification of the truth. So he's taking on a method which was very revolutionary, not done before by um, the acharyas that came before him, before Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But you can see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually did it. He went and aggressively propagated Gaudiya, our Radha Krishna uh, worship. So not only did he thwart mundane logicians like Keshav Kashmiri, but also stalwart Mayavadis like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Sarasvatī. But also, he went ahead and corrected or established the supremacy of our Gaudiya Vaishnavism, even as compared to Sri Sampradaya's Lakshmi Narayan worship, when he talked with Venkata Bhatt, and he also slighted the Tattvavadis, who are Madhvacharya's own followers, his own Sampradaya, who were a little bit deviated and trying to say that moksha is the ultimate end and varnashram system is the way to go. Strict varnashram system vadis. So he was he was he established the supremacy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism even with them. And mind you, he also spoke and defeated the Muslims, the Chand Kazi and others, and also the Buddhists. Christians were not there at the time when he was there. But basically, Abrahamic religions basically have the um, same origins, similar origins. So, so he established Gaudiya Vaishnavism by actively confronting them. But unfortunately, um, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no one really did that. Now, Rupa Goswami did right, and Jiva Goswami, there is one incident where he, debated with Rup Narayan, one bogus fellow who was trying to say that he defeated Rupa Goswami, and Jiva Goswami went and defeated him in argument. So isolated incidents like that, but that was never their method of preaching, modus operandi. Uh, but the modus operandi of Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura is very clear here. The truth cannot be sufficiently known by the positive method alone. Um, Propaganda by the method of opposition more than the presentation of the positive aspect brings about more brilliantly in this world the appearance and glorification of the truth. In the Satya Yuga, now he goes on to say something even more revolutionary. In the Satya Yuga, Hiranyakashipu, more than Prahlad, by the adoption of the method of negative propaganda, proclaimed greatly the glory of Narsimadev. What are you saying? Hiranyakashipu, more than Prahlad, by the adoption of the method of negative propaganda, proclaimed greatly the glory of Narasimhadev. In the Treta Yuga, Ravana more than Hanuman proclaimed the greatness of Sri Ramachandra to the world. You study what he's saying here. Now, Prahlad, he was, of course, a great devotee. But unless Hiranyakashipu showed such extreme anger towards Prahlad, the ferocity with which the Lord protects his devotee could never be known by us. The ferocity with which the Lord is known as Bhaktavatsala and how ferociously he protects his devotees against anybody who goes against him. And thus assures and reassures his devotees for all time, not only during the time of Prahlad, but even until now. We are every day singing Namaste Narasimhaya song to, you know, appeal for his protection. And we wouldn't know such ferocious feature of the Lord unless it was for Hiranyakashipu's antagonistic caricatures, right? Similarly, Ravana more than Hanuman proclaimed the greatness of Sri Ramachandra to the world. How is that so? Now, if you see, it is not exactly because of Ravana, that Ramachandra's glory is known. But to an extent, yes. But it is because of this. Like Hanuman, his only mission was to glorify Sri Ramachandra. But the beauty is that the Lord, reciprocally, he wants to glorify his devotee. So Hanuman wants to glorify Ramachandra, and Ramachandra wants to glorify Hanuman. And the Lord makes sure that his devotee is always more glorious than himself. Now Krishna said, it is my plan that all these people in this Kurukshetra battle will be finished. But Arjuna, you fight and take the credit. So today Arjuna is known as the greatest archer, but actually he could not even fight with a group of cowherd men after Krishna left. So yes, he is certainly very skilled in archery. But the thing is, unless Krishna wants, nothing can happen. Even the devotee who is powerful cannot do anything if Krishna withdraws his power. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam, or paurusham nirishu, I am the ability in man, I am the strength of the strong. So Krishna is actually the one doing, but he gives the glory to the devotee. Now, Hanuman wants to always glorify Ramachandra, Sitaram. But Ramchandra also wants to glorify Hanuman. So therefore you will see in Ramayana, Hanuman will be the big hero. He is doing the Herculean tasks, jumping across the ocean, finding, Mother Sita, and, burning the whole Lanka, and killing even one of the sons of Ravan, Akshay. And then later on, he jumped to the north, and then he carried the whole mountain on his hand and jumped back again to, get the Sanjeevani. And he later on fought so valiantly. Hanuman looks the big hero. He's the one who did the majority of the work in Ramayana. But, and therefore, Hanuman was never in the bewilderment that, oh, I am doing more than Ram. Never. He always knew only by the blessings of Ram I am able to do whatever I'm doing. But then people may not be able to identify. Objectively, if you see, Hanuman was the big hero. Yes, Ram shot some arrows, but personally, he apparently did not do anything. He walked and, he was crying over the disappearance of Sita. But Hanuman was the one who actually found Sita and brought back the happy news. And he was the one who was encouraging Ram. In that way, it looks like that. So Ram's glory is somewhat minimized by his own will, because he wanted his own devotees' glory to be more than him. Now, when Ravana was antagonistic and, did this kidnapping of Mother Sita, in fact, Hanuman was more than potent to finish off Ravan. Nothing. Ravan was nothing for him. But he also is a devotee, and Mother Sita also said, no, my husband should kill Ravan, and that is the proper way women should be protected, and the glory of my husband will be known all over the world. So Hanuman he desisted from killing Ravana, although he could have. Then Ram, actually the war of Ramayana is much bigger than the war of Mahabharata. the scale of the war is unimaginable by any calculations of our mental, anything that we can ever actually wrap our heads around. Ramayana, the war scale, the scale of that war is unimaginable. And similarly, the war in the heavenly planets, when Bali Maharaj fought the Indra and all, that is even more grander scale than even Ramayana. But the thing is, Lord Ram, I mean, he killed Ravana, who was feared by even the demigods. So it was on a scale like no other actually. The fight of Lord Ramachandra against Ravan. It was not just he was shooting a little bit of a few arrows. No, actually he was the prime cause of the entire decimation of Ravana's army. Now, so that brought out the glory of Ram. That brought out the valor, the warrior spirit that Ram exhibited, and the valiance with which he fought, and at the same time sticking to the dharma and everything. So the all kinds of aspects of Ram's personality were brought out by the device of Ravana. So that is what is being said here. It is not anyway discounting Hanuman and saying that Ravan is greater than Hanuman. No, but let's read this. I will share with you another verse also. So, in Treta Yuga, Ravana more than Hanuman proclaimed the greatness of Sri Ramachandra to the world. In Dwapar Yuga, more than the Pandava, Yadava, and other devotees, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishupala and the rest, as antagonists, proclaimed the greatness of Sri Krishna. How is that so? Again, although actually, even Hiranyakashipu, even Ravana, when they were speaking, when they said certain things against Ram or against Krishna, against um, Vishnu, Sarasvatī, these explanations are also there in the Bhagavatam. So whatever they said had other meanings, an indirect meaning in which actually the Lord is glorified. Huh? Like for example, Hiranyaksha, I cannot remember the exact example. Hiranyaksha was saying something like, you are not even what is that? Um, Respectable, kshatriya or something. I mean, like you're an animal, something like you are not even something. I don't remember the exact. Maybe some of you can take out and maybe share with us in the comment section. So things like where he said, insultingly, but actually the acharyas explain the other meaning, the hidden meaning in it, which actually glorifies the Lord. All of them did this. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, even, and who's that? Shishupal and Dantavakra. Although Shishupal was insulting Krishna like anything, his words were interpreted by acharyas in a different way to show that actually these were true indirectly. It only magnified the glorious position of Krishna even more. Like, what is this? Hiranyakashipu, he wanted a benediction that he wouldn't be killed by a man or an animal or a demigod. So the Lord came in a way which is not man, not demigod, not. It's like none of this. But it's not kind of a mutant which is somewhere between man and animal, like what it is, like horrible creature. No, it is the most beautiful form never before seen, Narsimhadev. And that wonderful form is worshipped by devotees even today. So although it is like kind of insult, but actually it's not. Like Varaha, he came as a pig, which is a very insulting. I mean, what, you call somebody a pig, they'll get offended like anything, right? So, but the Lord is Varaha Rupa, you know. So, I mean, Keshavadhrita, what is that? Shukara Rupa. We are singing, "Oh, my Lord, who is in the form of a pig." But the Lord is not an insult to the Lord. you know, if I say somebody, "Oh, you great one, you, uh, Mr. Pig," if I say like that, I mean, how will that sound? Like horrible. But we are saying Kesavadhrita Shukara Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare. All glory is to the pig form of the Lord. I mean, how will that sound? But the Lord is transcendental. He is removing pigs. What they do? They dig out earth and they find stool and some other things, and So he was cleaning up, the universe of the stool like person like Hiranyaksha. Now that is a transcendental mission. Although it may sound like something insulting, it is not. Hmm? In fact, the hair of Varahadeva is a kusha grass, it is said. Hmm? So, so Ravana more than Hanuman proclaimed the greatness of Sri Ramachandra. In Dwapar Yuga, more than the Pandavas, Yadava and other devotees, Kamsa, Jarasandha, Shishupal and the rest, as antagonists proclaim the greatness of Sri Krishna. Now, okay, let's. In the Kali Yuga, Jagai, Madhai, Chandkazi, Prakashananda Sarasvatī, professor of Mayavad, Ramachandra Kant, the hater of Vishnu and Vaishnavas, Ramachandra Puri, and in after times, the various hypocrite sects more than the Bhaktas of Gaura have proclaimed the greatness of Gaura and Nityananda to the world by adopting the hostile method. Okay, 1074:36 is about Shishupal. Okay, we'll go there now. So here, the all these negative like you see, Tarasakshi, what is that? Harinama Uddharilo. Dina Jata Chilo, Harinama Uddharilo, Tarasakshi Jagai Mathai. Now, Patita Pavan, Gaura Hari, we always sing. Now, the savior of the fallen. How fallen? As fallen as Jagai Mathai. He delivered. So, Jagai and Mathai became an inseparable word from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So their glory is attached to the Lord eternally now. So they brought out the most magnanimous aspect of the Lord out. When devotees, for example, when Krishna, why Pandavas, Yadavas, and other devotees more than them, the Kansa, Jarasandha, Shishupal? Because when Krishna is dealing with devotees, he becomes subjugated by them. Same example I gave of Ramachandra, subjugating himself compared to Hanuman and glorifying Hanuman more as the real hero of Ramayana. And he was a real hero, Vaishnava, but by the blessings of Ramachandra only. Arjuna also is a real hero of Mahabharata, but by the blessings of Krishna. Jayastu Panduputranam Yesham Paksha Janardana. Wherever Krishna, whichever side Krishna is, that side will always be victorious, and those people will be glorified as heroes. Now, when he is only dealing with devotees, for example, Yashoda, Yad Bibheti Swayam Bhayam. Fear itself is personified from Krishna, but Krishna is fearing Mother Yashoda. So in this way, Krishna's greatness is not known. His greatness is known, but only by devotees who know the real rasa of transcendental relationships of Vatsalya rasa and all these things. Otherwise, they will equate them with the mundane rasas of this material world. Oh, he's just an ordinary child. He's just an ordinary, playboy trying to get some girls, and just like an ordinary boy would. So it's easy to misunderstand Krishna when he's dealing with his devotees. So at least in the beginning, one must know the greatness of Krishna before we can understand his intimate dealings with his devotees. And therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 cantos, and 10th canto is the Mukharavindam Dashamah Prapullam. So the 10th canto is a smiling face of the Lord. But before coming to 10th canto, there are first 9 cantos to show the greatness of the Lord, how great he is. And then, yes, try to understand his relationships with the devotees and now understand how great the devotees are. Otherwise, if you just see the devotees and Krishna's their dealings, you will equate like it's like an ordinary, relationships in this material world. Just like a naughty boy, yeah, he's just stealing, and then later on he tried to flirt with girls, and later on he married so many queens. He was just a lusty man. That kind of misconceptions and offenses start. If we try to understand Krishna's rasa or rasika relationships with his devotees without understanding his greatness first, we will commit numerous offenses. And therefore, for the advancing devotee or for the conditioned soul to become a devotee, he must understand the greatness of Krishna before he can understand any confidential relationships with his devotees. So, when Krishna deals with devotees, only his confidential dealings are done. And therefore, for the conditioned soul, it is very bewildering. Therefore, Kunti Devi says like this, right? Srimad Bhagavatam 1:831. गोप्या ददे त्वयि कृतागसिदाम तावद् याते दशाश्रुकलिलाञ्जनसम्भ्रमाक्षम् वक्त्रं निनीय भयभावनया स्थितस्य सा मां विमोहयति अपि यद्बिभेति. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. This is the thing I'm saying. It is bewildering. Of course, devotees, and she was also devotee, she could understand, but she's, taking the role of a conditioned soul. And she's saying this, sight is bewildering to me. So it is very bewildering for conditioned souls to understand these things. On one side, Krishna is saying the sun is rising out of fear of me. The fire is burning out of fear of me. The wind is blowing out of fear of me. Death is taking about his toll out of fear of me. And on the other hand, he is fearing the stick of Mother Yashoda. What? So it's bewildering. So that can only be understood by the devotees. So to make himself known to the non-devotees, they need to see some opulence. Shadaishwarya Purna. Some Aishwarya need to be shown to attract. So, Aishwaryasya, what is that? Viryasya. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasa sriyaha. Jnana vairagyayoschaiva shannam bhaga itingana. So this is Vishnu Puran. Parasharma is saying that 6 opulences are there of God, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge and renunciation. In Vraja, in Vrindavan, of course, his beauty is known, but Krishna is just loved. They don't care whether he is, all owner of all the planets and universe, whether he's a supreme personality of God, whether he is strong, whether he is. Even when he shows his strength, they glorify the devatas who helped him. When Krishna killed Putana, he Yashoda Maya prayed to Vishnu, "Oh, thank you, Vishnu, for saving my child." They did not believe the strength that was shown by Krishna. So they were so absorbed in loving Krishna that they did not even have time to care for his opulences. That much they were in love with Krishna. Whereas we don't have that love. And we have love for opulences. And therefore we get attracted by the opulences of this material world. So Krishna comes and shows who is the real hero, which is himself. And for that to be displayed, there has to be some demons. If there was no Putana, we could not have known that Krishna was God right at the birth. Of course, he showed his four-handed form and the Yamuna waters parted. Those things happen. But still, maybe there may be doubt. Maybe he's a Devata, maybe something. Of course, Devatas may also be able to kill Putana or whatever. But to show his supremacy from day one. Now, when he killed, demons later on, Jarasandha, he was so grown up and, he was like, shooting arrows. Okay, maybe he was just a valorous fighter. But how come he killed a huge demoness Putana by just sucking her breast and sucking out her life? How much strong? Trinavarta, how he killed. So all these, even when he was a small baby. So God, because some people say, "Oh, you can become God." Now Krishna is showing he did not become God by some meditational process. By on day one, even when he was born, he was ready to kill Putana. So he was God from day one. So that is God. So he's showing many things just by the killing Putana. So to establish himself as God, these negative propaganda is also, negative propaganda, indirect negative propaganda by these demons was instrumental in bringing out the glory of Krishna, which will attract the conditioned souls. And later on, they will be attracted to the devotees and the love of the devotees. Then they can appreciate how great the devotees actually are. When they actually are able to control Krishna. Until then, Krishna looks like powerless and ordinary. But now you will know that the devotees are extraordinary. It's not that he is ordinary, devotees are extraordinary. So, that understanding we will get later on. For the beginners, this is very important. This greatness of Krishna, we have to understand how great is Krishna. So that our trust, our love for Krishna, so that we will not be attracted by anything else. So, okay, let's go back. Now, this hostile method, he's saying the demons were more instrumental in bringing out the glory of the Lord. Somewhat similar, thing that Narad Muni said, 7:127. यथा वैरानुबन्धेन मर्त्यस्तन्मयतामि यात् न तथा भक्ति योगेन इति मे निश्चिता मतिः. Narad Muni continued, by devotional service, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity toward Him. That is my opinion. Of course, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that this is the humility of Narad Muni, that he is saying that intense absorption is possible only by enmity, not by devotees. He is thinking himself as lower than even the enemies of Krishna. But of course, as we know, the devotees are always higher than the demons. The liberation that they get is much higher than that which is attained by the demons. But anyway, that is humble way he's saying. Like, here another example is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also thinks of himself in such a humble way. Jagai madhai hoite mui se papishtha, purusher kite hoite mui se laghishta. I am a worse sinner than Jagai Madhai, and I am even lower than the worms in the stool. And similarly, Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura in his song, he said, Asura Sakala Pailo Charana Vinoda Thakilo Bosi. So he said, Asura Sakala Pailo Charan. Yeah. All the devotees we say are rascals, Shishupala, Dantavakra, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, all the so-called rascals, they all have attained the lotus feet of the Lord. Asura Sakala Pailo Charan. They have attained the lotus feet of the Lord. Vinoda Thakilo Bosi. This Bhaktivinoda is still rotting in this material world. Of course, Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is a great acharya, it's a own humility, but in our case, it is a fact. In the case of Bhaktivinoda, it's a humility, but in our case, fact. We are rotting here. Whereas the so-called demons, who are eternally condemned in the scriptures for millions of years. Hiranyakashipu, his story finished like millions of years ago. Still today, he's condemned. So the devotees don't mind being insulted for eternity, but they want to go back to Krishna. You know the Jaya and Vijay story, right? They had choice of 7 long lives as devotees, as preachers of message of Krishna, or 3 lives as demons and quickly be killed by God and come back to Him. They said, we want to come back. So what about your reputation in the material world? Let it be gone to hell. We want to come back. So the devotees don't care for any reputation. Until today, Hiranyakashipu's reputation is so bad. So, but he's actually Jay and Vijay. So that is the devotee. So he's always, they don't really care for their mundane this thing. So, but we should understand that we are the real demons here. We are the ones who really went against the Lord. And the demons who are in this material world being punished. And we are not so fortunate that the Lord will come and kill us. No. But His devotees are so merciful that they try to save such rotten, irreparable, incorrigible idiots in this material world, and then they come and actually save them, which even Krishna is not interested to see. Whom Krishna is not interested to see, not even as an enemy. Like he saw Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu enemy, he killed him. Krishna is not even bothered to see us like that. Even though we consider Krishna as our enemy all these lives, he is actually trying to be our friend. He is supplying everything. And he doesn't even want to come before us. In front of Hiranyakashipu, he came before him, and Hiranyakashipu could see him. But we cannot. So we are worse than demons, um, who are actually great devotees, in fact. So, Asura Sakal Pailacharan Vinada Thakil. So, devotees always consider themselves very humbly, and therefore Narad Muni is saying the enemies are better than devotees, better than me. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says like that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says like that. Um, but, of course, but the thing is here that just like Bhaktisiddhānta, so today he in this article also he says the demons more than the devotees brought out the glory of the Lord, which is actually a fact. Because Paritrana Sadhunam Vinashasha Dushkritam, the Vinashasha Dushkritam brings out the heroism of the Lord, the attractive features of the Lord. Whereas his loving relationship with devotees creates another type of attraction, but his heroic conquests over non-devotees or demons brings another type of attraction. So both will attract the devotees. And for the beginner, the Vinashasha Dushkritam is even more visible. Such glories of the Lord are even more visible than his glory of being subjugated by the stick of Mother Yashoda or becoming a driver of Arjuna. That is not so glorious for the beginner devotee. It's actually more glorious than Krishna killing the demons. But a beginner devotee cannot appreciate it. So, of course, in one sense, everything is spiritual about the Lord. His pastimes on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and his Ras Leela are same. There is no difference. But still, according to transcendental calculations, Acharyas consider the Rasa Leela as the epitome, or not epitome, as the summit, zenith of his pastimes. Just as Hanuman's devotion to Ram and Gopi's devotion to Krishna cannot be compared. Both are um, inseparably engaged in their service with complete determination. It's not that Hanuman's determination is something less than the Gopi's determination. You cannot say that. So their spiritual relationship with the Lord is indivisible. I mean, it cannot be said that one is higher than the other. But in the case of the mellow, one of them is higher. Because it has more features, more intimate features, so like that. But all devotees are same. So this is a bit difficult to understand in the beginning, where every devotee is equal. At the same time, some devotees are more and or more elevated in their rasa. But at the same time, Hanuman is no less than the gopis in his devotion to Ram. So that's the transcendental paradox. So going back all the way. Yeah, so we were saying what? 1074, 36, Shishupal. 33 and 34 as well. Okay. 1074, 33. 1074. This is just few verses before that verse which says we have to go out of the place where Vaishnavas are blasphemed or the Lord is blasphemed. तपो विद्याव्रतधरान् ज्ञानविध्वस्तकल्मषान् परमर्षीन् ब्रह्मनिष्ठान् लोकपालैश्च पूजितान् सदस्पतीन् अतिक्रम्य गोपालः कुलपांसनः यथा काकः पुरोडाशं सपर्यां कथमर्हति. How can you pass over the most exalted members of this assembly, topmost sages dedicated to the absolute truth, endowed with powers of austerity, divine insight, and strict adherence to severe vows, sanctified by knowledge and worshipped even by the rulers of the universe? How does this cowherd boy, the disgrace of his family, deserve your worship any more than a crow deserves to eat the sacred Purodasha rice cake? What an insult. The great commentator Sridhar Swami has analyzed Shishupal's words as follows. The term Gopala means not only cowherd but also protector of the Vedas and the earth. Yes, because earth went in the form of a cow to petition to Brahmaji. And that's how whole Krishna's incarnation came, if you see the history. So Gopala means protector of the Vedas also and of the earth. Because Gopala, how will the cow be protected? By dharma, the bull of dharma. Because in the matter of dharma, you have to do yajnas, you have to. So the cow's products are very important. The ghee is very important, milk, and even if you do deity worship or if you do havan, you need milk, you need yogurt, you need ghee. All these things you will need. Panchagavya. So these are very essential for our yajna performances. So to sustain dharma, there has to be a cow. Um, and therefore, when there is dharma, when the importance of dharma is there in human society, they will protect the cow. So the dharma therefore protects the cow. Um, so the dharma, where is dharma? In the Vedas. Veda pranahita dharma. He adharmascha viparyaya. So Vedo Narayana Sakshat Swayambhuriti Shushruma. So 6.140 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vedo pranahita dharma. So whatever is there in the Vedas, that is dharma. So he is the protector of the Vedas and the earth. Similarly, Kulapamsana has a double meaning. Shishupal intended it to mean the disgrace of his family, which is its meaning when divided as above. But the word may also be analyzed as ku lapam amsana, giving a totally different meaning. Kulapam indicates those who prattle with crooked words contrary to the Vedas. And amsana, derived from the word amsayati, means destroyer. In other words, he was praising Lord Krishna as he who vanquishes all misguided and frivolous speculations about the nature of truth. Similarly, although Shishupal wanted to compare Lord Krishna to a crow with the words yatha kakaha, these words may also be divided as yatha akakaha. In that case, according to Srila Sridhar Swami, the word kaka is a combination of ka and aka, which indicate material happiness and misery. Thus, Lord Krishna is Akaka in the sense that he is beyond all material misery and happiness, being on the pure transcendental platform. Finally, Shishupal was right in saying the Lord Krishna does not deserve merely the Purodasha rice cake offered to the lesser demigods as a substitute for the heavenly beverage Soma. In fact, Lord Krishna deserves to receive everything that we possess, since he is the ultimate proprietor of everything, including ourselves. Thus, we should give Lord Krishna our life and soul, not merely a ritualistic offering of rice cakes. So, the insults of the devotees, of the demons, indirectly glorify the Lord. But only a devotee like Sridhar Swami could understand these things, right? Therefore, we have to understand Krishna's pastimes through his devotees. You see? Otherwise, we cannot understand all these things. Now, here, वर्णाश्रमकुलापेतः सर्वधर्मबहिष्कृतः स्वैरवर्ती गुणैर्हीनः सपर्यां कथमर्हति. How does one who follows no principles of the social and spiritual orders of family ethics, who has been excluded from all religious duties, who behaves whimsically and who has no good qualities, how does such a person deserve to be worshipped? Actually, Krishna is beyond. Namam karmani limpante namay karma phale spriha. Chaturanyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagasah. Tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. I am not part of the system. I am the creator of the system, but I am not part of the system. So therefore, Shishupal is saying he follows no principles of social and spiritual order. So yeah, he does not need to follow anything. Who is beyond all this? Who has been excluded from all religious duties? Yeah, because he doesn't need to perform any duty. Name parthaste kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita that I have no duty to perform in this world, but yet I can perform duties only to show others. But Krishna's own position is that he is not bound by these religious duties. He has no duty to perform. Kartavyam. Name parthaste kartavyam. I don't have any duty. Who behaves whimsically? Yeah, he can do whatever he likes. That is the meaning of independent. We cannot behave as we like without consequences, but he can behave as he like without any consequence. So he is truly independent. He can behave whimsically, and his whims are actually the laws. What we call today as laws, we say law of gravity. Why is the law of gravity existing? Because it is a whim of Krishna. It is the free will of Krishna. Because Krishna willed so that it should be like this. Therefore, it is like that. It is just a whim of Krishna. Everything that is here a law is a whim of Krishna. So he actually behaves whimsically because he's not bound by the laws. And anything like, for example, we say Um, the law is that plants get food from sunlight and chlorophyll and all these things. We may term all these things and sound very scientific, but such science is only possible because of the will of Krishna. Why? Because we can say chlorophyll, this is the thing that is actually making and turning sunlight into nutrients or whatever. Now, there is a pattern which is studied by science and now presented as a definite thing. But if there was no order in this universe, everything happened just without order, then we wouldn't even have science. We cannot say the chlorophyll is the one causing. Maybe tomorrow something else will cause the sunlight to become nutrients. So why it is only chlorophyll all the time? Because it is the will of Krishna. Because Krishna will that this has to be like that, and therefore today we can have something fixed and something we can say it as a science. So science exists only because of the Lord. So, but so those are all laws which we are studying and thinking. Where who's the lawmaker? The lawmaker is whimsical, but of course, there is logic in when we consider everything. But actually, it is whimsical. why? Our skin has to be this color? Why can't it be green, blue, or red? Why? It is the will of Krishna. That's it. There's no other. There's no other reason. You may say, "Hey, you're also eating plants. You're also killing." Then, so we say, "Oh no, Krishna says you can offer it to me, vegetarian category, and therefore we can eat that." Although it is killing of certain plants sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. So you may argue, "Oh, it is also killing," but Krishna authorized it. So if you go by logic, killing is killing. But then when authorization is there by the person who is beyond all laws, then it is now the law. So moral principles, everything are dependent on the instructions of Krishna. But he is not dependent on anything. Therefore, he behaves whimsically. And who has no good qualities. Yeah. So-called good and bad in this material world are mundane. He is beyond all these even good qualities. Who is not even Sattvagun. He is Shuddha Sattvagun, Vasudeva. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. He has no good qualities. In fact, he has more than good qualities. He is transcendental to all good and bad qualities. Now, is anger a good quality? No. We all are trying to conquer lust, anger, and all these things, right? So anger is not. But in the Krishna, in Narasimhadev, the anger is worshipped. How? It is good or bad? It is higher than both. Now, you may say, okay, anger is a bad quality, but lust is also bad quality. Lust will give rise to affection. Now, affection is also bad in this material world, right? It may be termed as good in this material world. Oh, if a man loves his wife, oh, he's such a sweet husband, he's a real man, he really loves his wife. But when you come to Bhagavatam, he's condemned. He's called Yoshit Kridamurga. He's the pet animal of the woman. He will be condemned like anything in the Bhagavatam. Now, so-called affection is condemned, and so-called anger is glorified in the Lord, and affection of the conditioned soul is condemned. So Krishna's affection is glorified. So everything that Krishna does, so here whatever is good or bad is all bad. Everything that Krishna does is all good. And everything that is done in the service of Krishna is all good. Even though by material calculation it may be bad. Krishna asked Yudhishthir Maharaj to lie. He refused. Went to hell for a while. Krishna had to make alternate arrangement to suit Yudhishthir Maharaj's non-compliance of his instruction. But when Karna was in a position where he could not fight and unarmed, Krishna asked him to kill. It was against the rules of warfare. When Bhima hit Duryodhan below the waist, that was against the rules of warfare. But Krishna asked him to do so, and they just did it. And although Yudhishthira Maharaj is known as Satyavan and all this, but it is Arjuna and Bhima who unhesitatingly executed the order of Krishna, whereas Yudhishthira Maharaj, he hesitated for a while, and he did not even, in fact, fulfill their order or carry out their order. Krishna actually he made a adjustment. Krishna made adjustment. His will go. His will happen. Krishna, this is the another thing we have to learn. Krishna's plan will work. If I don't cooperate with Krishna's plan, Krishna will find another way to make it work. Krishna's plan is not hampered by our compliance or non-compliance, or our cooperation or non-cooperation with it. But if we cooperate, we will be benefited. If we don't cooperate, others will be benefited. Whoever cooperates with Krishna. And if nobody cooperates, Krishna will personally do it himself. Like it is said sometimes, when there is no living entity qualified to be Brahma, Krishna will become Brahma himself. Supreme Personality Godhead as Brahma. Everybody is replaceable. There's nobody who is irreplaceable. Only the Lord is irreplaceable. So in our service, sometimes we think, oh, without me, nothing, this temple cannot run. Then Krishna will make sure we run away from the temple. So, so these are the things that we have to be careful of. So how does such a person deserve to be worshipped? So see how this is also actually Shishupal indirectly praised Krishna by saying that he's not within the jurisdiction of Vedic injunction. This is true. So all these things we have already mentioned. Now 36. ययातिनैषां हि कुलं शप्तं सद्भिर्बहिष्कृतं वृथा पानसतं शश्वत् सपर्यां कथमर्हति. You see, even this last line is always same. Saparyam kathamarhati. How Krishna deserved to be worshipped. In other words, we can say that how can we ever worship such a person adequately? It can also mean like that, right? How do we even deserve Krishna's worship when he is so far beyond our reach? How do we deserve his worship? It's not how Krishna deserves our worship. How can he even ever be worshipped properly? And how do we even deserve his worship? So, it can be interpreted in this way. Yayati cursed the dynasty of these Yadavas, and ever since then they have been ostracized by honest men and addicted to liquor. How then does Krishna deserve to be worshipped? Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Ṭhākura gives the inner meaning of the words of Shishupal to show how he continued unintentionally glorifying Lord Krishna and his Yadu dynasty. Even though the Yadus were cursed by Yayati, they have been relieved, Bahishkritam, of this curse by great saints, and consequently they have been raised to a position of royal sovereignty by such persons as Kartavirya. Thus they have become absorbed in Pana, protecting the earth, not intoxication. Considering all this, how does Krishna, the chief of Yadus, deserve useless Vritha worship? Rather, he deserves opulent worship. So, in other words, how does he deserve this worship of this as the greatest person in this assembly? No, not in this assembly. Entire multiple universes and spiritual worlds, everything combined should worship him. What is this one assembly worshipping him? This is crap. So, in that way. So these are some of the examples. What is this? Gopinath. Ami ki doshe doshi, asura sakala pailo charana vinoda thakilo boshi. Okay, so going back all the way. Oh, we are going so slow in this article, and I don't think we can finish it. So, in this way, the negative propaganda. So, the various, okay. So, in the Kali Yuga, Jagai Madhai, Chamkazi, Prakashanand Sarasvatī, the professor of Mayavad, Ramachandra Khan, the hater of Vishnu and Vaishnavas, Ramachandra Puri, and in after times, the various hypocrite sects more than the Bhaktas of Gaura have proclaimed the greatness of Gaura and Nityananda to the world by adopting the hostile method. The truth is, in all ages, propagated in this way by the positive and negative methods, the true message of the Sri Gauḍīya Maṭh has spread and is spreading in the world in this manner. It may be asked, what does the Gauḍīya Maṭh do? We may get our own question. What does ISKM do actually? What does the Gauḍīya Maṭh do? Is the Gauḍīya Maṭh Is the Gaudiya Maṭh merely one other association like the thousands of sects um, that are to be found in this world? Or is the Gaudiya Maṭh one among the other welfare societies of the world? Recently, um, one of the people who came to the temple wanted to donate something, but there is CSR. So CSR means corporate social responsibility. That means companies, they have certain responsibility towards social development. They should have some budget for uh, giving to charities and donations like that. So they have some schemes for that. What are the schemes? One of the schemes is that one of the many schemes is that if the employee, if any employee or how many other employees, they donate, say, for example, $100 to an organization. Now the company has a dollar for dollar match. That means if an employee donates $100 for this charitable organization, the company also will donate $100. So for every dollar, they will also match until a certain cap, maybe 10,000 or something like that, per month or something like that. Some cap will be there. So this man, he wanted to donate, but he wanted to see if he can add this and get his company also to donate using the CSR, corporate social responsibility scheme. So what happened? He spoke to his higher officer. That lady, she wrote me an email and CC the email to him also, saying, "Does your organization perform only religious activities or also some welfare activities?" So I replied, um, "I will actually maybe no, never mind. Let us not dox people. Let me maybe just read. I'll not show it on the screen. I'll just read what I wrote. Just a second. Sorry, this phone is like so slow. Hmm. Okay. So this was the question. Could you please confirm if your organization is purely involved in religious activities or also gets involved in social welfare activities? I'm sorry, I'm not showing this on screen, but just for privacy reasons and all that. But I'll just read it out. So I said, "Dear so and so, I will take the liberty to share something from Bhagavad Gita. I hope you do not mind. First of all, those two, religious activity and social welfare activity, should not be separated. Religious activity, when done right, is the highest social welfare activity. To teach God consciousness systematically through the authorized Vedic scriptures is the highest service to humanity. Nothing beats that. In fact, it is said in Bhagavad Gita 3.12 that not being God conscious or being an atheist tantamount to being a thief, because such persons do not acknowledge God but want to take everything from Him and enjoy such facilities. So, we are definitely conducting the welfare activity of rectifying thieves. And of course, when we become God conscious, then all our activities are automatically social welfare activities, which is why we as an organization engage in counseling and providing free food to as many people as possible, which might ordinarily be defined as social welfare activity. I hope that helps clarify. Thank you. Yours sincerely in the service of Lord Sri Krishna," and signed off. So then, um, so the donation gets approved in the company, and that person actually messaged me uh, on chat. So he said, "Thank you, Tattvavit ji. I appreciate your email, but just in the context of our internal systems, just a simple and direct response suffices. I have spoken and they will proceed with the donation. Thank you. So I wrote. So he's saying that just simple and direct response suffices. So then I replied to him, thank you very much for the arrangement. I just wanted to share some Bhagavad Gita knowledge as well. Otherwise, it sounds to us like the work we do is irrelevant religious work that does no benefit to humanity at all. Like um, it feels like the question is, आप सब लोग सिर्फ नाम जाप करते हैं या कुछ काम भी करते हैं इस संसार में? You know, that kind of mood I get when they ask this question. Do you all only do exclusive religious activities, or also you do some beneficial welfare activities? As if our religious activities are not beneficial. So that is actually very insulting and very they don't understand the significance of what we do. So this is what I wrote. I just wanted to share some Bhagavad Gita knowledge as well. Otherwise, it sounds to us like the work we do is irrelevant religious work that does no benefit to humanity at all. So, although I am aware that my message may not always be appreciated in the corporate circles, this is my little bit to change the conversation around this topic. Our mission is to make it known that our work is relevant to addressing the world's problems, so that we don't have to hide behind certain terms that honestly discriminate subtly against our field of activities because of a lack of knowledge on their part. So it is our duty to educate them on that front. I don't know when again I will communicate with so and so G, with that person who wrote me that email. So I took the opportunity to help that person understand our stand in our language. So I included that part there. And he said, yes, you're right. So they sometimes, ask us, hey, do you do any welfare activities only, or do you just sit around and chop and eat and sleep? Do you do something? कुछ काम धंधा है क्या आप लोग, या सिर्फ बैठ के जॉब करते हो और सोते हो खाते हो बस? So that kind of attitude. So I want to attack that. That is nonsense to speak like that, as if religion is a irrelevant thing. No. We want to show that religion is actually the most relevant thing. In fact, whatever you are doing is irrelevant. That is what we want to show. In fact, I was very mild in this. If I really want to show that, I will say that you are talking nonsense. I mean, you are not doing anything good for the world. Huh? Only we are doing good for the world. Nobody else is doing. That is actual response, which they really deserve. But anyway, at least they know that they cannot speak in such disparaging language. Although they may not mean it, but that's what it meaning actually. I don't care whether they mean it or not. They have to understand. You have to know how to speak. If I say to you, you are just doing some cashier job in your shop, or do anything good? I mean, any work you're doing, or just counting money only? As if that counting money is not some first of all work. Of course, that's a clerical job, not too much of a big what is that significant job in the grand scheme of things. But preaching Krishna consciousness is the highest job, and we have to hide behind terms like, oh, welfare, we are giving some food, we are giving some some counseling here and there, where we are changing people's lives, we are completely stopping their damn material life. Okay, we are doing the greatest help for humanity. Oh, do you do anything good for humanity? We are the only persons who are doing good for humanity, unlike people like you who are simply spoiling the whole thing. So, but of course, Titikshava, Karunika, we have to be tolerant. So, but at the same time, we should let them know where we stand. So, anyway, if this is only mild, then I wonder what it would be like to be harsh. Oh, I just told you what it would be harsh. Himanshu, trust me, if you're going to give Hindi classes, it will become viral. Well, I don't know about that. I have to learn some Hindi myself. So, so Gauḍīya Maṭh, he's Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura here is telling that is Gauḍīya Maṭh merely one other association like the thousands of sects that are found in this world, Or is the Gauḍīya Maṭh one among the other welfare societies of the world? Or is the Gauḍīya Maṭh one of the many mischievous organizations that carry on their activities in this world? What work does the Gauḍīya Maṭh do for the benefit of the world? Just like the question that was asked. Is the Gauḍīya Maṭh affectionate like a mother, a protector like a father, or a helper like a brother? What good does the Gauḍīya Maṭh do to the world? What well-being of society does it desire? What very inconsiderable service does it render to mankind that the world or the civilized world or the whole of mankind should listen to its message? Many such questions may arise in our minds. The Gauḍīya Maṭh is not an association like the thousands of sects. The Gauḍīya Maṭh is not desirous of the welfare or non-welfare of the world, like other benefit or mischief-making societies. There are mischief-making societies actually. In fact, the whole of capitalist world is full of mischievous societies. And nowadays, in the garb of certain welfare or foundations, research foundations, educational, crap, they're just Bill Gates and people like them fund these groups so that they can create some vaccine and do some studies based on whatever nonsense to further their propaganda. When you get money, funding like this, of course you have to, be beholden to that person who funds you. Of course, you can't say anything against the funder. I mean, it's a conflict of interest, isn't it? So therefore, Brahmanical community should always be crowd-funded. So Brahmanas are crowd-funded people. Crowdfunding, they say, oh, new concept. Brahmanas are always crowdfunding because they never took from one person and settle for it, because then they will be dependent on that person. They cannot be honest in their dealings, because they cannot, like Shukracharya, he was, when Bali Maharaj was going to give everything to Vamanadev, Shukracharya said, don't give, he will take away everything. You don't know, he's not just a Brahmana, 3 steps of land he's asking, he will take away everything from you. Bali Maharaj said, so what? So Shukracharya was concerned because he was being maintained by Bali Maharaj. So instead of actually encouraging him to give everything to Vishnu, he was prohibiting. So when we become dependent, we will become irreligious. So therefore, like Madhukari, sannyasi, there should be Madhukari, collecting from everybody little bit, in that way. So that is crowdfunding. So Brahmanas are the crowdfunded section of society. And it's not simply crowdfunding, they depend on Krishna. Krishna will send the crowd, whichever pious crowd is there to support such Brahmanas, they will support. So there are mischief-making societies, and many are there. So he's saying Gauḍīya Maṭh is not desirous of the welfare or non-welfare of the world like other benefit of or mischief-making societies. The Gauḍīya Maṭh does not do work that is beneficial or harmful in terms of worldly enjoyments. That is the thing. In terms of worldly enjoyment benefit, no. We are bestowing transcendental benefit, but not worldly benefits. So it is transcendental to both benefit and mischief, harmful. The Gauḍīya Maṭh does not do work that is beneficial or harmful in terms of worldly enjoyments. The Gauḍīya Maṭh is neither affectionate nor cruel like a worldly mother, neither protector nor destroyer like a worldly father, neither helper nor enemy like a worldly brother. What then is the Gauḍīya Maṭh? What then is this Gauḍīya Maṭh that the world should listen to its words? So there is no contribution of Gauḍīya Maṭh. Why should it listen? Yes, there is no contribution on the mundane plane. There is every contribution on the spiritual plane. There need be no want of harmony between the Gauḍīya Maṭh and the whole world. What a revolutionary statement that is. There need be no want. He is writing, Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur is writing, every sentence you can make a quote and post it on the Instagram. There be no, of course, some people will misunderstand if there is no context behind the whole thing. So please don't make quotes out of, seemingly radical statements, which actually are perfectly logical. But don't quote them out of context, because people may misunderstand and will be misquoted and misconstrued. So the context must also be mentioned. But anyway, actually, a Christian priest says this: if the world is against the truth, then I am against the world. I think his name is Augustine something. Recently, one other Christian pastor, he quoted that in a video against homosexuals and all that. He spoke very good, very well from the Bible's point of view. Made perfect sense. Now, he quotes that saint. He said, if the world is against the truth, then I am against the world. What does that mean? Now, he could have easily said, I am for the truth. I stand for the truth. But no, he said it in this way. If the world is against the truth, I am against the world. That means I am for the truth so strongly that I don't seek safety in numbers. If Because if you have more people on your side, majority, if you are part of the majority opinion, you will feel protected. Oh, I'm, you know, for example, honestly, when the whole pandemic thing was going on and the vaccines were being pushed, we were not for the vaccines. Some of us, we did not take the vaccines, and we did not have any faith in the system, because yeah, vaccine is a bona fide thing if it is done properly. There was nothing that was done properly in this case. There was no tests, no trials, nothing. Simply brought out the vaccine out of nothing, and there's so many harmful effects. So many people died, which was not reported. Many things happened. Now, majority people, oh, because that was the propaganda, and everybody just bought into that, and then yeah, vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. We were like outliers. We were not like really for it, and we were always skeptical, not really buying into it. So we are seen as the, oh, how can you say like that? My question is, how can you say like that? What test did they do? Can you show me the test results? Every country is saying emergency use authorization. You give the full authorization, then I will take. You don't have the guts to give it full authorization. You want me to have the guts to take it? I won't. I'm well off. I even told somebody was. I mean, I don't want to say too many things, but some people try to coerce us, and then I even told them, see, you give it the full authorization, we will take. You don't want to give it the full, why should I take? I rather get the COVID than take the vaccine. I will get immunity if I get COVID. I'm telling you, I won't die. I told him. I'm telling you, I won't die if I get COVID, and I prefer that. And eventually, I got COVID. I'm very happy. Nothing much. It was just like a ordinary cold and a little bit of fever. Finished 2, 3, 4 days, and after that, it was finished. I mean, I got much worse sickness before. I mean, chicken pox and this and that. I mean, much more suffering than this. Yeah, some people died. I mean, people die every time. Influenza, it kills way more people than COVID did. When old people die, I mean, it's part of life. I mean, something or other comes. Anyway, it's a whole topic on its own. But the point is this: if you are of the majority opinion, you feel safety in numbers. Okay, I'm okay. I will not be pointed at or something. If you are revolutionary, that's what I said in the beginning. Any revolutionary idea, at the time of the idea, at the time of execution of it, everybody will be opposing it. That does not mean it's wrong, especially so when it is spiritual. Now he's saying there need be no want of harmony between the Gauḍīya Maṭh and the whole world, as the only disharmony is caused by one little word. The Gauḍīya Maṭh says that harmony between itself and the whole world can be established by means of one word, viz. That the duty of all jivas consists in the exclusive service of Adhokshaja, the transcendent. That bhakti is the one word, Krishna bhakti is one word which will cause the disharmony, because it is a complete 180-degree shift of perspective of life. Because now everything has to be done for Krishna, not for me, not for my, my gains or my country's gains or my society's gains or my race gains. It's all for Krishna now. So I have to give up my sense gratificatory pursuits and come to Krishna. So that will still create disharmony. So we don't want to be in harmony with this world. That means we don't want to sing their bhajan. We don't want to be part of their bhajan mandali. We don't want. We don't want to clap for their songs. No, we're not going to do that. We want to create our own song, and we want people, the whole world, to clap for this song, for the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, not for your nonsense songs. Like nowadays, what is that? Natu Natu, Oscar, Oscar award. We don't want that. We want to create our own songs. We want people to clap for that, and then be benefited. Then dance here. Why some song? What is the meaning of that song? Simply some nonsense. So the Gauḍīya Maṭh says that harmony between itself and the whole world can be established by means of one word, viz. That the duty of all jivas consists in the exclusive service of the adhokshajat transcendent. The majority of the people of this world says that the service of the akshaja, not adhokshaja, akshaja, that is the phenomenal, is the duty of every one of the jivas. So that is the contradictory point, where the people say that you have to serve the akshaja, which means this material world. Akshaja means aksha, you know, right? Adhokshaja means adha krita akshaja jnanam iti adhokshaja smrityam. That means aksha means eyes. Akshaja means beginning with eyes, all the senses. So the knowledge that you can perceive with your senses, sensory perception of knowledge, that means this material world. This material world can be perceived through the material senses. So to serve such material world is akshaja seva. Adhokshaja means adhakrita akshaja jnanam. So aksha means the sensory perception. Aksha also means the speech. Because A is the first letter of Sanskrit and Ksha is the last letter of Sanskrit. Aksha means A to Z in English. So akshaja. So every letter, every word in English language is composed of only these 26 alphabets, right? So similarly, every single word in Sanskrit in the scriptures are made of these vowels and consonants in the Sanskrit language. So any word, any combination cannot adequately explain the Lord. So all language falls short of explaining the Lord. Now, then you may say, then why are you talking? You're talking so much now, why are you talking? Every language falls short of the Lord, then why are you talking? This is revealed knowledge, different from sensory knowledge, speculative knowledge. No. Revealed knowledge is totally different. There is a nice statement by Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura in another article called Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. The article name is Ṭhākur Bhaktivinoda. And in that, there's a beautiful magazine I found in the farm when I went there this time. And I found two beautiful articles by Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. One was a conversation with an Islamic scholar, masterpiece of a conversation, and another article on Ṭhākur Bhaktivinoda. So beautiful. It's just so powerful. So anyway, we have to do those articles also in these sessions. But he said one point there. If the infinitesimal is able to capture the infinite, that means he is not actually infinite. Infinitesimal, by definition, we are infinitesimal. The Lord is infinite. So the infinite can never understand, the infinitesimal can never understand the infinite. But if the infinite cannot make himself understood by the infinitesimal, he is not infinite. Now let me repeat that. The infinitesimal can never understand the infinite. But the infinite, if the infinite cannot make himself understood by the infinitesimal, then he is not infinite. That means we cannot understand God. But if God cannot make himself understood by the individual souls, then he is not God. How? What kind of paradox is that? That means we cannot understand God with our own efforts. But if God is unable to reveal himself to the individual soul, that means he is incapable of revealing himself. So although it is impossible for the individual soul to understand him, if the Lord wills, he can make him understand him by revealing himself to him. So if the Lord cannot do that, then he is not powerful enough. He is not God. God by definition should be able to do anything. So if he cannot make himself, reveal himself to an individual soul, then he is not God. You may say, then if he is God, then why are atheists away from God? Then he is not revealing to them. And that is his whim. His own desire is that he will not reveal himself to the atheists. It is not that he can't reveal himself to the atheists. He won't reveal himself to the atheists. So, beautiful sentence that was. If the infinitesimal can never understand the infinite, but if the infinite cannot make himself understood by the infinitesimal, he is not infinite. So, the majority of the people of this world says that the service of the so akshaja jnanam, we are talking about adhokshaja. So akshaja jnana means sensory knowledge of sensory knowledge derived by sensory from sensory perception, and the knowledge derived from speech, studying books or hearing lectures or podcasts or whatever. All the akshaja jnana, all that is of this material world. The Lord is adhakrita. That means everything, all that will fall short of reaching the Lord. That means the Lord is always transcendental to such, um, you know, such mundane explanations and perception. And so the devotees will say adhokshaja seva, the world will say akshaja seva. So there is no harmony in the two concepts. Actually, there is harmony. If one agrees to do adhokshaja seva, then akshaja seva is automatically done. But the problem with these people is they don't agree to this principle. They think akshaja seva, there is no adhokshaja. In fact, there is only akshaja. Whatever what is that? Seeing is believing. Whatever I see, I believe. That is akshaja. So adhokshaja means by definition he is beyond our sensory perception, and we have to understand from Shastri principles, Shastras. Then the majority of the people of this world says that the service of the akshaja, that is the phenomenal, means material, is the duty of every one of the jivas. That's what they say. We say adhokshaja. That is the one little word will cause disharmony. Therefore, he says there need be no harmony with the Gauḍīya Maṭh and the world in the ideology, because we are revolutionary. Revolutionaries, their ideas, the ideas of revolutionaries are never appreciated by their contemporaries. Almost never. They are usually only appreciated in hindsight, after their demise, after their departure, well after their departure, like that. When they're alive, when they're doing it, they're not very much appreciated. Like today, Subhash Chandra Bose is glorified. Of course, at his time also there were some people who were actually really inspired by him. But majority, the dominant narrative at that time was, oh, he's a upstart, he's a rebel. That kind of tags were given to him and others. But then now everybody is saying, oh, Subhash Chandra Bose, because of him there is independence. So, I mean, it is only appreciated in hindsight. Looking back, oh, then it is all revealed. I'm just giving a mundane example, yeah. But similarly, a revolutionary is usually not appreciated. And in fact, not just not appreciated, he is considered a rebel, a maverick. So, like Prahlad Maharaj, what happened? Classic example of a maverick. So, a maverick is a person who's a kind of goes against the laws. But it was not that he was intentionally wanted to do so, Prahlad. But devotees by nature are mavericks. Because the dominant narrative established by the asuras is that, one should not be too, at least they say, they allow for religion nowadays, but control it. They will control it a lot. So actually they don't want it. They're tolerating it and giving it some kind of a freedom in their own domain. That's it. And as if it can be, but the general propaganda is that to not get into religion at all, secular so-called, that means they are hoping that maybe after 10, 20 generations down the line, this concept of religion will become so loose and so diluted, almost will become nil. And that's what they want. Because that's when they can exert their total control. Because then everybody will believe their narratives. Or at least that's what they think so. But it will not happen. But that's what they think so. If they can remove religion, then people will be all equal, and they will now whatever harmony is there. We have to exert a lot of effort to make all religions be peaceful with each other and something like that. Otherwise riots will take place, some terrorism will happen or something like that. So religion is just being tolerated at this point. but it is shown as irrelevant. Yeah, it is your personal thing. If you want to have belief or faith in something, you can have it. But it has nothing to do with our life. You're atheist or you're believer of God or believer of demon or whatever, Satan or whatever. You can come and work, be a software coder and be a delivery man for the Uber or Grab. Here it's Grab, and in India it's Ola or something like this kind of things. So, I mean, you can be all these things. It doesn't matter what religion you practice. You just build the economy, help build the economy of the country. Let's do nationalism. Oh, we have to stand for our nation. That kind of. So they're uniting by nation. That inherently causes problems, because then if you are so much patriotic to this nation, then you are against the other nation, which is trying to like maybe do some damage. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam cannot be achieved by that. So real harmony cannot be achieved actually. But they think that if you remove somehow religion, there will be harmony. All the disharmony is because of religion. They think like this. But in the name of religion, yes, so many wars have happened, so much fighting has happened. But actually, that is because of a lack of understanding of proper what religion actually is. That is the reason why religious so-called wars have taken place. The only dharma yuddha you can say is Ramayana, Mahabharata, and similar other Vedic wars. But many others are just in the name of so-called religion, but actually they're fighting for the wrong thing. Although they think they're fighting for religion. Like if some section of population thinks that by doing terrorism we're actually advancing the cause of our religion, thoroughly mistaken. I'm sorry, thoroughly they are mistaken. They're idiots of the first order. They don't understand, actually they don't understand the real purpose of religion. And I'm telling you, that conversation of Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura with that Islamic scholar, A1, distinguished, the most majestic conversation. How nicely he explained the intentions of Hazrat Muhammad, and how the so-called jihad that exists today is a total misrepresentation of Hazrat Muhammad's original reason of using violence and everything. I mean, it's just beautiful. Beautiful means absolutely beautiful. One should read that. It's from the 1931 issue of the Harmonist. It was actually published in the Harmonist. Talks with a Maulvi. That is the talks between a Maulvi and a Vaishnava. That is the heading of the article. One day we will do that in this session also, AVA session. But it's beautiful. Absolute respect for Hazrat Muhammad. Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura gave absolute respect to Hazrat Muhammad, but he condemned the so-called jihad and similar other thing. And he showed, and the Islamic scholar actually accepted his explanation. He was profoundly surprised and churned. His thinking was churned a lot in that conversation. And for the Vaishnavas, oh, it is just nectar. For devotees, it's nectar, that whole article. It is the way to actually conduct interfaith dialogues with all other religions. How to actually respect the original intention of the original speaker or the scripture, and point out the misconceptions that happen over time and which caused such a perverted representation of a certain religion or a culture or something like that. Similarly, I mean, in our Hinduism, there is vilification of our certain practices like sati and dowry and so-called child marriage, when actually these are legitimate, and even caste system so-called. These are all legitimate parts of culture, but they were abused, yeah, by certain section of population, not all, but they were magnified by the invaders at that time, the especially the British, and they popularized such magnification of distorted history, and that led to a lot of misconceptions about our own history. Now, if you see, in principle, the principle of sati, the principle of dowry, the principle of so-called child marriage, and the principle of what is the other one I said? Things like this, a caste system, they're actually bona fide systems. Caste system is actually of course, by qualification, and sati was the chastity of the woman. Women themselves used to do it, and even until 19th century they did it. Even in 20th century they did it. The Rajputs, their wives, the Sikhs, their wives, they did it. They themselves immolated themselves when they knew that their husbands died. in the war. They immolated themselves. Nobody coerced them to do it. That was the devotion they had to their husbands. They wanted, because they knew that the invaders would then rape them or something like that. They did not want to be touched by another man in their life. They immolated themselves. How much respect that is. I mean, for the woman actually. Of course, it's a horrible thing that happened, but it just shows the level of their chastity. It's a glorification, and for that they will go to heaven for that. I mean, that kind of sacrifice. They're not going to be some degenerated into some ghosts. No, this committed suicide ghost. No, they won't be ghosts. Madri did that, Pandu's wife. And child marriage. I mean, come on, absolutely. Let us consider. I told this the other day as well. 18 is the legal age for marriage today. Now, who came up with that rule? It's a whimsical rule made by so-called mankind. I mean, this modern society, this Western society. Where did that come from actually? 18 years. You do you mean to say at 18 years they really know what they're doing? No, not really, right? 18 is still a teenager. So why that 18? What is that number 18? From where did they get it? Does it have any biological significance? No. Because biologically the puberty is attained at maybe around 11, 12, 13, that age. And after that, what is this 18? What number is that actually? What is the significance? In what? The same people who are saying that you can terminate a pregnancy until 24 weeks. So what is that 24 weeks? Why that time? What is the basis for the time period of 24 weeks? What is the biological significance of 24 weeks? Absolute crap. The baby is existing from birth. So there's just some arbitrary, whimsical ages, whimsical numbers they're putting, and they say this is legal now. Anything that other than this is illegal. I'm telling you, in Singapore, I just recently found out last week that there are two registries of marriages. One is ROM, Registry of Marriage, Registry of Marriages. Another is ROMM, Registry of Muslim Marriages. And in the Muslim marriages, they have their own Muslim rules, complete Muslim rules. And there, the girl can be married after her puberty. If you actually see, even in our Sanatana Dharma culture, the girl, when she attains puberty, there is a function in the house. There is a function. What does that function basically means? It's a religious function, of course, but it means that now in this house there is a girl who is available for marriage. That is the meaning of the function. There's the meaning of the function. So, and if you see your own grandmothers, great grandmothers, they were married at 13. Prabhupada's wife was 11 when she got married to Prabhupada, and she delivered her first child at 14. You mean to say, oh, she has no childhood, she has no, she did not enjoy her teens. Please stop nonsense. What they're doing, these teens now today? Huh? What are they doing? Sleeping around with hundreds of people. Huh? This is the thing. This is the thing that we want the girls to do. Anyway, they will have sex. Why not have it in the proper way with the husband and actually produce children and become responsible? No, she does not know. She's still a kid. Come on, she can become a mother by then, and that's how she actually grows in life. Biologically, she can become a mother. Okay, you may say the kid and all these arguments. Then why did Krishna make the puberty come at that time? Why is her body ready for sexual intercourse at that time then? Why? That is Krishna's will, right? So if you see the natural course of action, the natural course of events, we will understand it properly. That's why Prabhupada said in his books, the maximum age for marriage for girls should be 16 and the maximum age for boys should be 24. Of course, sometimes here and there it happens. Today's society is a bit off. But we should try to come to that level, that standard. We should not, that is, so even devotees. That is just for good for books and that's good for the lectures, that's just for the, that just don't say it, just read it a little bit softly. Marriageable age for girls is 16 years old, and for the boys is 24 years old. Yeah. Next. No. Let's talk about it boldly. Because the problem with this is we ourselves are brainwashed into the other narrative where it is said, oh, this is pedophilia, this is this and that, this is that. This is actually protection for women. They don't understand this. We are not advocating some pedophilia here. It is actually protection of women, because once the woman has a person a man in her mind, The first man that comes into her mind, if that man becomes her husband, she will love him for the rest of her life. And that will stabilize the entire society. If the women are just staying with their men and not flirting around and hopping around, then the society will be stable. It is said that when a man goes wayward, he alone goes wayward. When a woman goes wayward, the entire family is destroyed. Strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankara. This varna sankara is coming from dushta shri. That means what is that? Condemned women who are unchaste women. Um, because the mother is the one, she is tending to the children and she is the one raising the next generation. So the culture, she is the one who passes down to the next generation. And if she has been a prostitute, what she will pass? Sometimes they say, oh, no, it's not about prostitution, it's not about, no, I won't have any sex, I just want to have my career first. I want to concentrate on my career. That is another problem. Women who are educated, it is by research, these are figures out of research. 80% especially in America, this is the figures. And don't say, oh, that is America, that's America. India is different. Please. India is just another 5 years away from America, that's all. And I think with the boom of technology, it is becoming lesser and lesser. It is coming into the close of as good as American culture now. The distance between the generations is just almost nil now. Okay. In America, this is the research. 80% of the women who are college educated initiate the divorce. Initiate. They start the divorce. It's not the men who want the divorce. It's the women who want the divorce. They always say that, oh, men are the ones who are violent. No, it's not actually. There may be some violent men, but the vast majority of women are the ones who cause the divorce. They want the divorce. The man doesn't want it actually. So that is a woman's fault. And 80% of women initiate divorces, and 90% if they are college educated. Among college educated women, it's 90% they are the ones who initiate divorce. So what does that tell us? And Prabhupada said this already. If a woman is educated, she will know how to commit adultery, how to divorce, and what is the other thing? And after that, the man has to pay all the alimony. What is that? Alimony? 50% of his income, and so many divorce laws, everything favoring the woman. So the entire system, the social system will collapse if the women are not submissive. If the women are not, submissive and chaste. And the more the woman becomes, educated. I'm sorry if some women actually find this offensive, but I have to speak the truth. I know it's uncomfortable, and that is exactly what this article is all about. There need be no harmony between us and the world. We will speak the truth, however uncomfortable it may be, because we need to wake up to the truth. Honestly, we don't need to, sugarcoat it with some rubbish nonsense. Let's talk about facts. Yeah. The more a woman goes, so-called career path and all that, the more she will be apprehensive of any relationship. And the more is she like that, the more she approaches the relationship with a very distrustful attitude, and she is more likely to cause a disruption in the family. Men today are scared of women. Scared. Because the whole life can be devastated. So anyway, of course, we don't deny there are some rascals out there, men, who really are abusers. We don't deny. But the vast majority of the abuse doesn't come physically. It is very psychological, it's very subtle, and that creates more damage. Anyway, this is all material life. Even if you have everything good, it's not really. I'm not advocating anything material here. But the thing is, my point was that whatever the Shastras say, that should be followed. Now the Shastra says all this, that's why I mentioned that so-called child marriage and all these things that we are taught. We have absorbed that in our psyche, and then when we hear something else, we try to, even if it's coming from Prabhupada, we try to hop around it. Yeah. Go to okay, next one. We don't want to hear that more. That is the problem. Okay, so Anyway, the majority of the people of this world, continuing from, reading this article, the majority of the people of this world say that the service of the Akshaja, the phenomenal, is the duty of every one of the jivas, even when this is not actually said by word of mouth. In practice, it is this that is always done. The Gauḍīya Maṭh says that that which is the object of our activities, sadhya, should itself be the only means, sadhana, for the attainment of the object. Sadhya and sadhan. Sadhan means the process to achieve the goal, and sadhya means the goal that is desirable to be achieved. Now, the Gauḍīya Maṭh says that the object of our activities should itself be the means. Now, for example, what does that mean? The object of life is adhokshaja seva. How to attain this adhokshaja seva? By adhokshaja seva. Sadhana bhakti, by chanting Hare. What is the ultimate perfection of life? Kirtaniya sadahari, right? Like Haridas Ṭhākura. And how to attain that? By Kirtaniya. We may not be able to sadahari, but Hari Kirtan. It is the start. So sadhana bhakti, and so the beginner devotee is chanting on the beats, and the Haridas Ṭhākura is also chanting on the beats. The levels of chanting are totally different, but the means, the end, the means to the end is the end itself. The same end is the means as well. Whereas the people like Vivekananda, they say Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. So to achieve Madhav Seva, you should first do Manav Seva. So the means is something else than the end. So here, that's why you should understand all these things, what he's actually meaning there. So this is in stark contrast with what Vivekananda was saying, Manav Seva, Madhav Seva. And this is a common conception in Hindus. Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. No, it is not. Madhav Seva is Manav Seva, and also Madhav Seva and every Jiva Seva. It's a proper Seva. Otherwise, it's Avidhi Purvakam. It is not. Krishna does not say that you serve humanity to, then it will be service to me. No, he never said that. In fact, if you preach my message to humanity, that is the greatest service, and such devotee is most dear to me. So the Gauḍīya Maṭh says that that which is the object of our activities, sadhya, should itself be the only means, sadhan, for the attainment of the object. In the opinion of the majority of men of the world, sadhya and sadhana are different one from the other. The Gauḍīya Maṭh says that words like unity, universal love, etc., so long as one continues to be under the influence of the physical and mental dharma, are mere sounds like such words as Akasha Kusum, aerial flower, etc. Now, okay, coming back to this point of sadhya and sadhana. Recently, I posted a comment in our Krishna Inspiration WhatsApp group by one of the ISKCON devotees saying in the video, it was a YouTube short, few seconds video. So he was saying that, this householder devotee was coming for Mangalarti, and he asked him, it was Amoghaleela Prabhu's video, and he's saying that sometimes we become so busy in becoming a pure devotee that we forget humanity. So, example he gave, this devotee was coming for Mangalarti and suddenly his wife got dengue. And he still came for Mangalarti. Then he asked him, hey, your wife is having dengue, right? How come you are here in Mangalarti? Then the devotee replied, people die, people born, take birth, all these things will happen, but Mangalarti we should come, no matter what is the circumstance. Then he told the devotee that, so Mangalarti has made your heart so hard that lady who is giving you 3 meals a day, prasadam, she's cooking for you, and now you don't even care for her. You just left her at home and came for Mangalarti. Arey, insaniyat kahan gaya? Where is your humanity? How have you forgotten that? How have you become so hard-hearted? You can also do your Samsara Davanala song at home with your wife. That also can be done, right? So I wrote a message in our Krishna Inspiration group saying that what kind of message is this? Our sadhana should be strong no matter what. Hmm? And usually, I don't really care about how many people react to my message, but that message got very little reactions. So I presume that some devotees even did not understand what I was saying, or they don't agree with what I said. So what happened? One of the devotees actually wrote to me, um, and very humbly, genuinely asked a question. And I think that chat I will read out to you again. I will not again share the name, um, for privacy reasons. But I think it is not necessary because the subject matter is what is necessary. Because I think this will answer for every devotee, and it relates to the sadhya and sadhan. Okay. So the question was this: Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I was hearing the YouTube short that you had shared on Amogh Leela Prabhu. Actually, Prabhu, I don't think he's saying not to attend Mangalarti. All he's saying is that you do your Guru Ashtakam at home along with your wife as she's unwell. He is specifically referring to reciting Samsara Davanala at home along with your wife. Am I missing something, Prabhu? So it was actually very humbly put. So I replied, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada. Doing Mangalarti at the temple is much more potent than at home. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:14-33. Ete punyatamadesha harer archashritaschaye etan deshan nishevata श्रेयस कामो ह्यभीक्ष्णशः धर्मो ह्यते अत्रेहितः पुंसां सहस्राधिफलोदयः. Places where there are centers of the Krishna consciousness movement and where Radha Krishna deities are worshipped must all be visited and worshipped by those who want to be spiritually advanced. One who intends to advance in spiritual life may visit all these places and perform ritualistic ceremonies to get results 1,000 times better than the results of the same activities performed in any other place. Okay, this is the quote from 7:14:33. Then I said, it is going to be 1 hour in the morning, Mangalarti, after which he can always go back home at times when his wife is sick. That is not indifference towards his wife. That actually makes all the difference. Keeping one's sadhana strict during all trials and tribulations of life is the measure of success in spiritual life. I quoted that verse in the previous message in the KI, that Radha Krishna Pranamor Jugala Kishore, what is that? Jivane Marane Gati Arnahu More. I, Even at the time of death or in life, Radha Krishna are my Pranamor, my life. So, and nothing else. So, that is a life and death situation. Now it is just somebody's wife is sick, and it's not a death and dying situation, dengue, unless it becomes very very critical. That's another thing. Now, so I said, okay, it is going to be 1 hour in the morning, after which he can always go back home at times when his wife is sick. That is not indifference. That actually makes all the difference. Keeping one sadhana strict during all trials and tribulations of life is the measure of success in spiritual life. Krishna, in fact, tests our determination in devotional service by throwing such situations at us. If that is indifference, it can also be said that a man taking sannyas when his wife is becoming elderly, when she needs the physical, mental, and emotional support of her husband, probably more than ever before, should also be considered indifference, a much more serious one at that. When a man is attached to the temple, to drag him to family attachment is a serious offense. Of course, specific instructions for specific individuals when they are showing undue indifference to their spouse is one thing. But to generalize it and induce material guilt upon spiritually advancing devotees is an entirely different paradigm. What if there is agreement between the husband and wife that he does indeed attend the Mangalarti at the temple? What if the wife says, okay, you go and attend? What about that then? Maybe he would have made arrangements for his wife and then come to the temple. How would you know? Somehow, our material life has to be adjusted in such a way that our sadhana remains constant as much as possible. That will preserve the sanctity and sanity of our life. Somehow, other things have to be adjusted and, as much as possible, keep our sadhana intact. Moreover, it may not be possible for the wife to participate in Mangalarti even at home when she is sick. She just needs rest, probably. So he can't do anything anyway during that time. And nowadays, the phone is in the pocket. The wife can call him anytime, even if he's at the temple. And then he can return home to attend to his wife if it is that urgent at that time. Furthermore, is it ever considered if he has to take leave from work in order to attend to his wife? Why can't a compromise be done there instead of temple life? If he goes to work when his wife is sick, is he being indifferent to his wife? Because in work, the boss may not agree to everything. No? You can't take leave anytime whenever you want. If there is deadlines, yeah, you may say unpaid leave or whatever, but honestly, you can't do more of that, right? So sometimes it have to go to work. Maybe there are financial commitments as well. You never know. So these are legitimate questions. If the wife is in critical condition, then it is something he has to attend to her. Sometimes it is not so critical that he has to remain by her side all the time. And that should not be considered a lack of affection. I hope these points clarify the matter. So then, of course, he agreed. So it's not that somebody is sick, a little bit fever. Okay, then you sit beside that person all day, doing nothing better than nothing better, and just sitting there and looking at the person, and maybe he's having some headache, and you cry a little bit, and that is affection. Is that affection? Stupidity. I mean, do your work, no? It doesn't. If it is critical, yeah, you have to go to the hospital and stay there. That's another thing. Somebody's last moments of their life. Yeah, yes, you have to spend time, and that time, your schedule may be a little bit here and there. But when it is not so serious, why? Why? Why, when he's coming for Mangalarti, why are you inducing material guilt? And okay, even if maybe that particular person is not showing enough attention to his wife, or maybe that's why his family's life is suffering. Okay, that is a personal instruction to him. Why don't generalize it in a class and say that, oh, in the matter, in the enthusiasm of becoming a pure devotee, you're forgetting humanity. So it's a generalized statement. Whereas on the other hand, the verse actually says in Bhagavatam that yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunais tatra samasate suraha. Every good quality a person gets when he becomes a devotee. So automatically he will become, what is that? He will have all good qualities like humanity and all these are subsets. They are subsets of the real thing. So sadhya sadhan. Why I'm saying? So the same lecture, another YouTube short they made of the same Amogulila. He says one person came to a temple and he said, I want to become full time. Then the president itself told him, I did not see you much. What makes you think that you're qualified to become full time? What's my qualification? Well, when my wife died, I did not shed a single tear. Maybe he hated his wife or whatever, but that's another thing. So, okay. So then the answer was, oh, really? So you don't have any feeling for that person who did so much seva to you, and so much she took care of you, and you did not even shed a tear for her. That means you're emotionally bankrupt. If you cannot have any gratitude and any feeling towards your wife, how can you have any feeling for Krishna? Therefore, you are not at all qualified to become a brahmachari or full-time devotee. I was like, what? You're equating material affection with spiritual affection. Then Prabhupada did not have much regard for much affection for his wife. He said in the beginning itself, when he got married, he did not like his wife so much. He wanted to marry again, second wife. Of course, his father stopped him. That's another thing. And then eventually he took sannyas from his wife. So that means she cooked for him, she took care of him all his life, but he gave her up. So is that, and so he cannot be a good devotee? What is he saying? Sridhar Swami, you know the story. He wanted to become a sannyasi. He was a brahmachari, he wanted to become sannyasi. Then his parents said, no, you must marry. Okay, he got married. And then after marriage, he said, okay, I'll take sannyas. Wife said, at least give me a son. Na? Okay. Had intercourse, and then she was pregnant, and he was waiting for the son to be born. And then when the son was born, the wife died. He thought, after the son is born, I will take sannyas. And son was born, the wife died. Now he was left with the son. What has my life become? What I wanted and what it became. Then at that time, as he was thinking under the tree, he was sitting with the baby in his hands, and like, what is my life? What has life done to me? So what to do now? At that time, this lizard fell, from the tree, and then he saw the lizard eating a worm, a baby lizard, just born. And baby lizard, he took some small insect, and he went into the bushes, and then he saw, okay, if Krishna can provide for that baby lizard, he can provide for this human baby also. So he put the baby there and went took sannyas. Now, you may say that, hey, yeah, zero, what is this? Come on, like what is this? No emotions, nothing, no affection. How can you? So they are separating the sadhya and sadhan. So if you cannot have insaniyat, how can you have bhakti? If you don't have humanity, how can you have devotion to God? So they're equating the both. Whereas Bhagavatam says, Mahad Sevam Dwara Mahur Vimuktes Tamodwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. If you're too attached to your wife and woman, Tamodwaram, you go to hell. If you're attached to the Sevam Mahat Sevam Dwara Mahur Vimuktes, you will get moksha if you are attached to sadhus. So, and those who are actually, in fact, it is said those who are attached to their wives, they cannot attain. Of course, we don't say that, oh, women should be just discarded and leave. No, we're not saying that. But a man should not, out of duty, he has to take care of the wife, but he should not be attached to the wife. Now, it is difficult to do it, easier said than done. But let's just speak the actual philosophy. We don't have to mask it with something else. The man should not be attached to his wife. He should, out of duty, perform his things. The woman should be attached to the husband, yes, but the man should not be attached to the wife. If he is too much attached to the wife, that is a big downfall for him. Yeah? So, it's the opposite. And we are also not actually saying that he should be indifferent to the wife or to the child. Of course, we cannot imitate Sridhar Swami and his renunciation. But at least theoretically, we have to understand that, okay, this is attachment. Okay, even if the child, okay, make him devotee. I should, and even if, okay, wife is sick, okay, make some arrangements and try to come for Mangalarti and come back. Maybe if the wife is proper and if she's not in such a serious state, she will allow the husband also. I mean, it's not allowed actually. Husband is allowed by the wife means he is in a horrible position already. If she is holding the key for his movements. But what I'm saying is the wife also is probably agreeable to the husband going to Mangalarti. Yeah, please go and come. So maybe that is the case. Why should he be discouraged to go to the temple? That's my point. Sadhya, the whole philosophy is upside down here. But sometimes it doesn't doesn't sound good to certain people, even devotees who are attached. And you see that there is nothing wrong with what he said. To discern who is wrong and who is right, you need to be. Basically, you have to have the mercy of spiritual master. And be agreeable. How to get the mercy of the spiritual master? We have to be agreeable to whatever the spiritual master says. We cannot have a different opinion. If Prabhupada says, for example, that the woman has to be dependent on the man, and if we say, no, woman can be independent, what is that? You're not agreeing. You're not agreeing to the Shastra. You're not agreeing to all the stalwart women in our Vedic history who all got married, except for one. Somebody argued with me on the YouTube. Oh, Gargi did not get married. And she took sannyas. Then I searched. Gargi did not take sannyas. She was not married, yes. But also, don't take that as an example for any ordinary woman. Okay? Nobody is on the level of Gargi anyway. But those people who are stalwart, like Mother Sita, Mandodari, Gandhari, Kunti, Arundhati, Savitri, all these great women of Vedic culture, Shachi Devi, who's Indra's wife, all of them are chaste women. Chaste women. And they got married. So, why are you against it? So, if you are against it, I must understand that I have a problem. If I am not agreeing with Shastric statements, I have a problem. Even if it sounds perfectly logical to me. Actually, there is no logic there. For example, um, marriage after puberty. That is not logical. Hey, how come this is illegal, unlawful, 18 years old, this and that. No, nobody questions why that 18 number. Where did that 18 number come from? Which biological event triggered that number 18? What happens at 18 years of age? Nothing substantial happens. Puberty comes at some 11, 12, 13, whatever, 10 maybe sometime. So there is some biological relation to that. So, so in this way, um, we must understand. So sadhya and sadhan, don't say that, oh, if you don't have affection for your wife, how can you have affection for Krishna? Stupid statement to make on a sitting on a Vyasasana. Stupid statement. So the whole history of acharyas is based on this. Ramanujacharya took sannyas from his wife. Prabhupada took sannyas. This Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura did not even go on to get into it in the first place. And I mean, all the acharyas, they left everything. I mean, how many examples do you want? And here our brahmacharya is preaching that if you can't love your wife, how can you love Krishna? What? So don't generalize things and state it in a way which is completely nonsense. In the opinion of the majority of men, the words sadhya and sadhan are different one from the other. The Gauḍīya Maṭh says that the words like unity, universal love, etc., so long as one continues to be under the influence of the physical and mental dharma, are mere sounds like such words as Akasha Kusuma or aerial flower, etc. It's just like United Nations is existing in name. Where is the unity? Stupidity. United stupidity. So that is what is happening there. We are united in our stupidity. So there is nothing substantial. What is this? You know. Um, so, but it is possible. Some complete harmony is possible if there is a unifying purpose. If every country has its own purpose and everything, then we cannot be really united. We have to work with a single purpose. And that purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord, Adhokshaja Seva. Harmony is possible only when one has obtained a firm footing in the dharma or function of the soul, Sanatan Dharma. Rasikananda cursed his wife. Where was the affection? Yeah, I mean, seemingly he had affection, but so we cannot censure them saying that, oh, they are, how can, valid example, Rasikananda, and even Shivananda Sena. When Nityananda Prabhu was angry with Shivananda Sena and he cursed that all your three sons should die. Then, because, I hope you know the story because I repeated it many times. You know, and then when the Shivananda came and then the wife crying and crying, she related this to Shivananda Sena, oh, Nityananda Prabhu cursed us that our three sons should die. Then Shivananda Sena was, what nonsense you speak? Why are you crying? Yeah, well, not only the three sons, but we both also should die because of the offense we have created to Nityananda Prabhu. We have made him wait like that. I was my fault. And it's true. What he says is true. And then he went to apologize to Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu kicked him. How would you like? How would you like that he is coming to actually pay obeisances? And the same person actually kicks him on the chest. Is that a nice thing to do? Ordinarily, no. But what did Shivananda Sena do? Danced. Nityananda Prabhu has placed his footprint on my chest. Even Brahma cannot get this. I got it. How fortunate I am. Dancing and ecstasy dancing. Nityananda Prabhu became so happy he embraced him. Finish. So our thing, our fidelity, our chastity to Krishna, to devotees, association will be tested at every step. So we should pass it. We should know what is the value of chastisement of all these things. So this is not actually what lack of fame or any affection. We are very sharp in seeing the proper message in everything. Unless we have the mercy of spiritual master, we cannot see properly. This distinction requires to be made perfectly clear. See, the Akshaja and Adhokshaja Seva should be made perfectly clear. Harmony is possible only when one has obtained firm footing in the dharma of the soul. Then harmony. This magazine Harmonist is contributing in that end. The service of the Adhokshaja means the service of the transcendental Godhead. That which helps or hinders the gratification of the body or the mind is not the service of the Adhokshaja. It is the service of the Akshaja. The body is pleased by the enjoyment of free air by gazing at the open sky. The troublesome mind is gratified if it is allowed to roam at will like an unbridled horse, to revel in the beauties of nature, to gather as it lists um, honey from the many tinged flowerage of the groves of poesy. Wow, his writing is so metaphorical and ornamental. The troublesome mind is gratified if it is allowed to roam at will like an unbridled horse, to revel in the beauties of nature, to gather as it lists honey from the many tinged flowerage of the groves of poesy. So, in poetic expressions, um, me actually, many beautiful things are said about nature, about life in this material world. Hmm? Dhanajana ar kavita sundari, dehu sukha kare. Nadhanam najanam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Kavita means poem. Kavitam means all the poets of the world. They glorify Dhana, Jana, and Sundari. You see all the Bollywood songs and all this. Some Sundari, some boy girl relationship. Poesy, the art of or composition of poetry. See, many tinged flowers of the groves of poesy. So there are many poems which glorify, many songs and poems which glorify material relationships, material world, scenery, whatever. Everything on the material world. So the troublesome mind is gratified by that, and the body may be gratified by free air, breeze, sunset. Let's look at the sunset. Like romantic. A boy girl hugging each other at sunset while the sun is robbing them of their lives and killing them. So it's a so that is what the people do. That is so-called enjoyment for them. The contrary to this, the neutralizationist and the neutralizationist's point of view is based upon repugnance of all gratification. You know what that means? Neutralizationist means one who tries to neutralize such like Jnani. First of all, is Karmi, who wants to enjoy this material world. Jnani is the one who neutralizes. He doesn't want anything. Sunya, zero, everything zero. Not positive, not negative, all zero. On all zero. So he's a neutralizationist. He gave him names. He titled them some things. The contrary of this, the neutralizationist's point of view is based upon repugnance of all gratification. One is for gratification, one is against the gratification, but nobody is for the service. Neither of these is service of the adhokshaja. Both are service of the akshaja. So, gratification and renunciation are both material. Service to the absolute, that is spiritual. Now, I don't know, what is the time? 10:15. Hare Krishna. We are not even halfway through the article, maybe not even one third. So, I think maybe I have to continue another day. Definitely not tomorrow. Maybe, how about Wednesday we continue on this article until it's finished? Maybe Saturday again, if not finished on Wednesday. Huh? For a change. Because it's not finished now. It will go a lot. I mean, so many pages are there. Okay, I think maybe I will stop here. It's 10:15 already. Yeah. Um, let's see any questions or comments on this topic. I hope you appreciate these Vaishnava articles classes, because for me it's nectar for myself. I'm doing this for my own purification. So in this way, I can read some articles with you all. So we can all understand this and relish these articles and try to imbibe some of those teachings. Let's see any questions. Divya Krishna Mataji. Prabhuji, Jay and Vijay, they couldn't bear separation from Krishna, so they were ready to be eternally condemned in material world by being demons, and devotees are ready to tolerate separation even for so many lives. In comparison between both kinds of devotees, which one is great? Are both equal to Krishna? Yes, actually, both are the same thing. Although they sound like two different things. One is like, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishwarya. I want to be in this material world. And they are like three lives enough. We want to come back. So, actually, although he's saying Mama Janmani Janmani Ishwarya, um, Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Kitvai, that bhakti is he wants the bhakti, although he doesn't want separation from the Lord, because if bhakti is there, there is no separation from the Lord. Now, of course, that could also be said for Jay and Vijay. If they took 7 long births as devotees, preachers, they would not have been separated from the Lord, but they wanted to come back to the Lord. They did not want it there in the material world, and that is also by the desire of the Lord, because then he could have some enemies to fight with, who are basically his own servants. So, in that way, of course, they are very dear to him. The intelligent men or the Brahmanas specifically engaged in the service of the Lord were properly maintained without anxiety for the needs of the body. Yes. 1:12:14. Gauḍīya Maṭh gives a natural taste of Vaishnavism. Well, every institution is good as long as the instruction of the spiritual master is maintained, of the bona fide spiritual master is maintained. If it's not, then it degenerates into mundane. That's the exact topic of Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, chapter 12, texts 8 through 12. And Prabhupada writes in the purport of 12:8 and 12:9 clearly that Gaudiya Math failed because of the schism caused by the disobedience of the order of the spiritual master Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. Ah, yes, that was the right explanation. If our sadhana is not proper, how can help others? And Mangalarti is only for a few hours. That time his wife will die. Sadhana should have priority if consciousness. If consciousness is not good, then he will simply create disturbance on it. Yeah, of course. If the person is in critical condition, I can understand that is sometimes necessary. But if it's not, what is the use of you sitting by the bedside and probably even not letting her sleep by chanting or doing kartal and ringing the bell there, and you know let her rest. And anyway, she's resting. You go and do mangalarti. Simple thing. Made a big hoo-ha out of it. This Amogli Lava. He will get woman's body. Devotees should actually see woman with fear, because if I attach, next life will become like this. Actually, I said to Rasa, Sundari Mataji, you got cheated in by a woman in previous life, so you became like this now. Then she became angry and wanted to know where is the woman now. ISKM TV, our own channel. I don't know who's that. Actually, relating to Divya Mataji's question, Kita Janma how Jata Tuadas Bahirmukha Brahma Janmana Hayash is quite different from Jaya Vijay's desire, but yes, both are transcendental. Yeah, I've kind of already explained this before. That's why we see mostly old age devotees in Gauḍīya Maṭh. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much. Dimitri is saying the Gauḍīya Maṭh in Russia even tried to convert one of our devotees. Hmm. I hope it was not successful. No, we should understand our what we stand for, what we should stand for, or and how we should conduct ourselves. We should know properly. Then we can conduct ourselves properly, and our ISKM can grow without bounds. Should reading physical books better than PDF? Reading is what is important. PDF or books, read please. There are, I mean, if it is a real book, I prefer to read by um, paper books. That is my most preferred mode of reading. But for showing on the screen like this, PDF is very useful. I cannot show that book like this, carrying big books, and I'm sometimes quoting from Bhagavatam, sometimes Bhagavad Gita, sometimes Chaitanya Charitamrita. I have to keep all the books here and it will be covered, and I'll be like this giving class, like that giving class. So PDF is better for that. Sometimes some people prefer it the other way. I mean, they just prefer reading in a device and they can carry. Even I, when I travel around, I have my Kindle, and I even actually now also I read from my Kindle, Prabhupada's books. Um, because whenever I travel, even when I just go out somewhere, if I have some time, I can read. So kind of that is helpful in that way. So there is pros and cons, but there is no distraction. Even on a Kindle, there is no distraction. In a phone, there can be a lot of distractions. So if something can ward off your distractions, then that's good. It's not, but that devotee is not serious anyway. Okay. Adarsh Jaiswal. Hare Krishna Prabhu, if soul is part and parcel of Krishna, how it can be trapped in a body made of matter, and why we cannot leave it on our own will? We can. The moment we want to get out of this body, we can. Problem is we don't want to get out of this body. We say that we want to get out of this body, we don't want. We say we want to go back to Krishna, but actually we don't want. Because we are actually attached to whatever we have in this material world. So the moment we say really want nothing to do with this material world, then yes, then I can go. So our will is to actually enjoy this material world, and therefore we are given this body. So we trapped our own self in this body. Kindle is very nice. You can read without any distraction. Yes, I like Kindle. And sometimes you can increase the font size if you want. If you're getting old or what, you can increase. So Kindle or paper books. Some books I just like paper, reading in paper. Actually, all the books of Prabhupada are read in paper. Now only I'm reading with Kindle a little bit here and there. But that feeling of okay, I completed this much more, okay, this much, that progress which you physically see in a book, that is satisfying. Okay, I'm reading. Somehow it just acts differently on my brain. In a Kindle, you'll never feel that you're completing the book. You're always reading and reading and reading and reading. Of course, it's good. It's not that I want to complete or what, but completion is like kind of an achievement, which it's like it's, okay. Then on to the next one, or the next one, and something which pushes me to read. Although I thoroughly enjoyed all what I've read, but also I wanted to progress on my reading. So every day I can see the bookmark changing the pages, and it's moving. So somehow it works for me like that. It was more effective than Kindle reading, honestly, to be very honest. It shows how much it takes to finish a chapter which I find helpful, so I know how much I can read now. It does. Kindle shows. Yeah, I do read from a Kindle, but my it's all personal preference. You may like from Kindle. I am nothing against that. So yeah, read whatever. It doesn't matter PDF or Kindle or you know um, paper or read. Read is what is important. All right. Thank you very much. Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākur ki jai. Gauḍīya Vaishnava Parampara ki jai. ISKM की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरे हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।